Inside a three-story villa in the city center, a girl with delicate features was lounging on a plush, oversized sofa in a soft pink nightgown as usual. She unlocked her phone and launched her regular game to complete daily quests. TCH, another bug. I've poured so much money into this game, do they even read player feedback? Tong Hua frowned and complained quietly. She had spent over 3 million on this wuxia online game. Not only had the bugs she repeatedly reported remained unfixed, the game's optimization had grown increasingly shoddy. Irritated, her fair, slender finger swiped up on the screen, closing the game. Still feeling annoyed, she uninstalled it. She rolled lazily on the sofa, which sank beneath her weight, forming soft indentations that slowly smoothed out again. There were plenty of games out there. She didn't have to stick to this one. If they couldn't keep their biggest spender, they had no one to blame but themselves. Tong Hua was an avid gamer. With nothing else to occupy her time, she opened the App Store to browse newly released titles. She scrolled for a long while, only to realize she had played nearly every game listed. Suddenly, a new game popped up and occupied the top banner. Ocean Survival, Extreme Survival Mode launching soon. How long you survive depends entirely on your own skills. Countdown. Preparation phase ends today. The world is on the verge of collapse. To preserve as many species as possible, all living creatures will be transported to an endless ocean planet. During the preparation phase, resource acquisition chance times 1,000. Friendly reminder, gather as many supplies as you can within today. Tong Hua blinked. Had this game been on the homepage just now? She tapped to check the promotional artwork, magnificent sailing vessels, scenic islands, diverse creatures, glittering treasure chests, limited-time leaderboards. The visuals looked incredibly lifelike. Marketed as a survival game, it appeared rather laid back, exactly the genre she enjoyed. This one will do. She tapped download. The installation finished, followed by a 20-minute loading screen. A rousing jingle chimed. Tong Hua typed out her name and ID number just as she normally would for any game. After a brief load, a prompt appeared requesting facial recognition and a full body scan. Is this a scam? She exited the game and looked up its operator. After confirming it belonged to the country's largest gaming company, which offered reliable security guarantees, she returned to the game. Strangely, the system notified her the scan was complete even though she had not performed it. There was no character creation screen. She entered the game directly. Staring at the blocky pixel graphics, Tong Hua fell silent. Her character floated in the vast blue sea, measuring less than half a centimeter tall. Waves were rendered as crude straight white lines. The in-game graphics bore zero resemblance to the flashy advertising artwork. She spawned on nothing but a tiny floating plank, and her character was minuscule. Resisting the urge to quit immediately to spare her eyes, she stood up, connected a game controller, and cast the gameplay onto her 100-inch television. The visual quality improved dramatically, and the ocean shimmered with realistic ripples. Now she could see clearly. Enlarged, her in-game avatar was the size of 2 palms, a girl with long black hair wearing a pink dress. Tong Hua glanced down at herself. What a coincidence. She was wearing the exact same pink nightgown with long black hair, and the avatar's facial features closely matched her own. She raised an eyebrow. Interesting. That must explain the lack of character customization and the facial scan requirement. The avatar was modeled directly after the player. A pop-up window materialized. Your home planet is collapsing. All living beings have been transported to an endless ocean. Survival of the fittest. Your sole objective is to stay alive. Note, you possess only one virtual life during the preparation phase. If your character dies, your account will be permanently erased, and you will never be able to log into this game from Blue Planet again. Treasure this opportunity. There was no tutorial, no further instructions besides this message. Pretty bold game. Permanent account deletion upon death? That certainly raised the stakes. Tong Hua grew curious. She resolved to survive as long as possible. Otherwise, all the trouble of setting everything up would be wasted. Closing the window, she opened her personal stats. Survivor, Tong Hua Constitution, 1 extremely frail health points, 100 very squishy stamina, 10 out of 10 average energy, 10 out of 10 mediocre. Strength, 1 barely enough to slaughter a chicken assets, 0 dead broke, time to top up funds, you know? Luck, 9 you're fortunate to access this game ahead of schedule. Tong Hua. Is the game this pushy about monetization? Won't they get flooded with complaints? She dismissed the panel and twisted the controller analog stick to move her character. On the massive screen, the miniature version of herself clung tightly to a plank barely large enough to support her body as she swam. After 1 minute of swimming, nothing appeared besides occasional distant seabirds, only endless stretches of blue ocean. Her stamina also ticked down slightly. 1 minute of swimming consumed 1 stamina point. She was far too weak. A few more minutes of swimming and she would perish. Just as the thought crossed her mind, a gift box notification burst across the screen. Like fireworks, the limited time shop. Just as she suspected. Having already labeled this a pay-to-survive title, Tonghua saw the pattern clearly. If you wanted to stay alive, you needed to spend money. She opened the shop. A countdown ran along the top, 459. Everything marked 90 off. Exchange rate, 1 blue planet Huaxia yuan equals 1 in-game currency. Only 5 items were available. Locator, points to floating debris or treasure chests within a 10 nautical mile radius. Long pointer for floating materials, short pointer for chests. Special price, 8,888. Don't say I didn't warn you. This item won't stay available forever. Is your life worth less than 8,888? Wood raft, level 0, upgradable. Special price, 288. I'm being honest here, without this, survival is nearly impossible. Can you tell which matters more, your life or 288? Standard fishing rod, a basic fishing rod, nothing more. Special price, 288. Though ordinary, survival becomes drastically harder without one. TSK. Miracle fishing rod, legendary tier. Rumored to drastically attract marine life when fishing. Resource catch rate times 200. Ultimate limited price, 88,888. Server stock, 3/5. Sold first come first served. Limited edition equipment, no further explanation needed. Fishing bait times 1,000, regular bait. Price, 1,000. What good is a fishing rod without bait? Tonghua's gaze sharpened. She noticed another player had already purchased the miracle fishing rod. In the split second she hesitated, 2 more stock slots vanished. Only 1 remained. If money could solve the problem, it was never truly a problem. Tonghua had no shortage of funds. She always believed games ought to be enjoyable, so she quickly snapped up the last miracle fishing rod, alongside every other item in the shop. There was something uniquely satisfying about snatching a limited item others competed over. Watching the last miracle fishing rod disappear from the shop list lifted her mood. As the saying went, better lucky than early. Powerful gear would help her climb the leaderboards. Dominating rankings was always her favorite part of gaming. The wooden raft materialized out on the ocean surface. All purchase supplies appeared stacked on the raft inside cardboard boxes. Tonghua guided her pink-dressed avatar to scramble onto the raft. She watched the tiny version of herself slump exhausted onto the planks to rest and thought it looked adorable. She unpacked each box, which dissolved into white specks once opened. She selected the locator to activate it. Locator successfully bound. A dial appeared beside her character portrait in the upper left corner of the screen. Its black long pointer pointed toward the upper right, signaling floating debris. Tonghua steered the raft slowly in that direction. She noticed moving by a raft consumed no stamina. Before long, several loose planks drifted into view. When she drew alongside them, a prompt popped up, lootable. Obtained plank times 3. Each loot action drained 1 stamina point. Stamina regenerated 1 point every 10 minutes, 6 points per hour, allowing 6 loot attempts each hour. 5 minutes of active gathering followed by an hour of waiting. Tonghua could not help admiring the bold design choice from the developers. They must have held a grudge against their own company. She stacked the 3 planks neatly at the stern, unaware of the trouble yet to come. She checked the raft upgrade requirements, plank times 10, rope times 10. Backed by her premium purchased equipment, finding resources posed little difficulty. Still, the gameplay felt monotonous. She grabbed her tablet to search for game guides, hoping to uncover hidden mechanics. She soon discovered players were starting with vastly different spawn conditions. Some spawned straight into violent storms and died within minutes, their accounts permanently locked. Others drifted beside silver treasure chests from the start, unlocking speedboats. A handful woke up on islands, only to be slain by island monsters as soon as they set off to explore. Attempting to log back and returned an account termination notice. Less than an hour after launch, the internet flooded with complaints. Gamers accused the developer of being money-obsessed, pointing out nearly every surviving player was a high spender. After all, how many people could survive adrift on a single plank in open ocean? Tong Hua grew more intrigued. Clearly, the game held far more content waiting to be discovered. One rule she could not afford to ignore: she must not die. What Tong Hua did not know was that the staff of the gaming company listed as the operator were panicking. They had never developed this game. How had someone launched it under their company name? And how had it passed official review? Tong Hua continued gathering materials when her phone rang. Caller ID, Ji Chuan. Hello. Tong Hua answered slowly, her voice carrying a lazy warmth. Hua, would you like to grab dinner with me tonight? A clear, gentle voice came through the receiver. I'm not feeling well today, I'd rather not head out. Her menstruation had started, leaving her drained. Her fingers never paused as she exhausted the last of her stamina. By the end, she had collected plank times 16 and rope times 10. Raft upgrade requirements met. Proceed with upgrade? Tong Hua selected yes. Where do you feel unwell? I can come over to see you. Are you free now? Concern laced Ji Chuan's tone. Tong Hua paused to consider. She had met Ji Chuan at her university graduation ceremony. He was from another department, wealthy, generous, 188 centimeters tall, and handsome. As someone who appreciated good-looking people, she had been happy to get to know him better. All right, you can come. Raft upgrade will take 30 minutes. The raft cannot move and cannot be targeted during this process. What kind of rule prevents movement during an upgrade? Tong Hua sighed. She exited the game, wrapped a thin blanket around herself, and curled up on the sofa scrolling short videos. Ding dong. She was absorbed in her feed when the doorbell chimed. Already? That was fast. She turned off the television and walked to open the door. Standing before her was a refined, elegant man. Tong Hua tilted her head, trying to recall his name. Her memory drew a blank, leaving her frozen in awkward silence. Misinterpreting her lack of response, the man assumed she was too stunned by his arrival to speak. He admired her still striking features and smiled wider. Hua, it's been a long time. Tong Hua, she really had forgotten his name. It had indeed been ages. Also, who gave him permission to call her Hua? They were hardly close. The man held out a business card. Tong Hua caught sight of the name Ningyu printed on it, and her expression darkened instantly. She remembered him now, a man hopelessly self-absorbed. Ningyu had pursued her back in their first year of university. When his family ordered him to study overseas, he had shown up unannounced and declared he would return to date her once he achieved success in his career. Tong Hua had been utterly dumbfounded. First of all, she had never agreed to enter a relationship with him. Second, she owed nobody her time and patience. She had tried to explain her stance, yet Ningyu cut her off mid-sentence, saying he had to leave, then turned and climbed into his family's chauffeur-driven car. Confused by his behavior, Tong Hua messaged him afterwards to clarify she held no romantic interest and would not wait for him. Ningyu, however, remained convinced she had spoken harshly only out of anger over his sudden departure. It was like talking to a brick wall. Tong Hua's patience snapped. She deleted his contact. She wondered how he had found her address, probably from old university registration forms. Recalling everything, her mood worsened further. If there was one personality type Tong Hua despised most, it was people who refused to listen to plain speech. She had lost her parents at the age of 8. Among all her relatives, her maternal uncle's family had been exceptionally attentive and were eventually appointed her legal guardians. Once they obtained guardianship, they dropped the pretense. Like many children trapped in toxic households, Tong Hua endured abuse, not physical harm, but relentless emotional mistreatment. Whatever she said, her uncle's family would pretend not to hear, completely ignoring every need she voiced. Countless nights, she lay awake in her bedroom, listening numbly to their laughter drifting up from the living room. She wondered endlessly if she had somehow done something wrong. Everything changed when they discovered the bank account her parents had set up for her. The account held a substantial sum. Once her uncle and aunt learned of its existence, they resumed false displays of affection, trying to manipulate her with family ties into handing over the password. Tong Hua remembered her parents' final warning: the money belonged solely to her. She retaliated by mirroring their tactics, acting as if she heard nothing. Watching their faces turn purple with rage brought her quiet satisfaction. They pressured and threatened her repeatedly, yet she refused to yield. Growing frustrated, her uncle raised his fist toward her. She burst into tears and threatened to report their mistreatment to the extended family and the police and demand new guardians. Fearing repercussions, the couple hesitated. Other relatives were already eyeing Tong Hua's inheritance. They dared not leave evidence of abusing her for others to exploit. After that, her place at the dinner table vanished entirely. Though she had only ever been given leftover scraps anyway. It was then she slowly understood. She had done nothing wrong. Some people were simply cruel. Their kindness had always come with conditions, and she wanted no part of it. She was still far too young to hold any power. Fortunately, the inheritance was enough for her to support herself. She watched silently as they sold off every valuable belonging left by her parents, secretly recording their thefts on her phone. She was unsure if the footage would prove useful, but she knew evidence would be required to file a police report. With time, Tong Hua learned to filter out other people's negativity and focus solely on herself. When she finally came of age, she deliberately chose a local university. Her outstanding appearance drew attention the moment enrollment began, and suitors appeared constantly. By then, her uncle's family already plotted to profit from her marriage, intending to sell her to the highest bidder. Tong Hua had anticipated this. The very day she turned 18, she contacted a law firm. Drawing on years of accumulated evidence, she filed to revoke her uncle and aunt's guardianship, on the grounds of severe violation of her property rights. She recovered what remained of her inheritance. Much of the funds had already been squandered, yet the remaining amount was more than enough for her to live comfortably for the rest of her life. The moment the guardianship was formally terminated, she wanted to laugh out loud, yet tears streamed down her cheeks. She had waited 10 long years, trapped in endless resentment with no way forward. She had dreamed of this day for so long. From then on, she resolved to treat herself better, far better. "I've returned from overseas. I came to see you." Ningyu's voice was deep and resonant. Standing at 183 centimeters tall, he cut an imposing figure in a well-tailored suit. That accentuated his stature, with a straight nose and striking features. There was no denying his good looks, even if his judgment left much to be desired. Now that he had established his career abroad, Ningyu believed it was time to settle down. Tong Hua struck him as the perfect partner. Few women possessed beauty and wealth comparable to hers, and she would make an impressive companion to bring to social events. It never crossed his mind that she might reject him. Before leaving the country, he believed they had reached an understanding that they would pursue a relationship upon his return. If Tong Hua knew what he thought, she would have laughed in disbelief. When exactly had she agreed to anything? What action had given him such a warped impression? Tong Hua privately thought that if anyone was at fault, it was Ningyu's flawed perception. "Hua, who is this?" Ji Chuan's gentle voice sounded from behind Ningyu. "A university classmate." Tong Hua rested her forehead in one hand, distracted, already brainstorming how to send the arrogant man away. Ningyu shot Ji Chuan a questioning look. Tong Hua hesitated briefly before introducing him reluctantly. "This behind you is Ji Chuan, a friend of mine." Ningyu waited, annoyed, as Tong Hua made no effort to introduce him in return. Ji Chuan's too attractive appearance sparked a flicker of rivalry within Ningyu. Judging by his attire, he also came from a wealthy background. Ningyu took a slow breath. There was no need to rush. He and Tong Hua already had an agreement. Ji Chuan studied Ningyu silently, his mind racing, though his expression remained cheerful. On first impression, the man's looks were passable at best. His styling tried too hard to mimic old money aesthetics. Worst of all, he blocked the doorway of a woman's home, oblivious to Tong Hua's obvious frown. Clearly unwelcome. Verdict: lacking awareness and basic courtesy. Tong Hua realized lingering on the doorstep would solve nothing. "A Chuan, come inside." A warm smile spread across Ji Chuan's face, and he stepped readily through the doorway. Tong Hua opened her mouth to tell Ningyu he should leave, only to watch him slip indoors after them like a slippery noodle. Tong Hua, Ji Chuan, who had witnessed the whole thing, stared speechlessly. Tong Hua drew a deep breath and spoke firmly. "Ningyu, I have things to attend to. You need to go home." Ningyu looked at her as if she were a faithless lover. "Hua, have you forgotten? Stop right there. Call me by my full name, Tong Hua. Also, are we even close?" Tong Hua cut him off, unable to endure his rambling any longer. Ji Chuan watched Ningyu from not far beside Tong Hua, barely containing his amusement. Though Ningyu often seemed oblivious to others' words, he understood clearly enough after Tong Hua's blunt rejection. He knew staying any longer would only make him look ridiculous. Hoping to salvage some dignity, he forced a smile. You have every right to be upset with me. I was gone for such a long time after all. Tong Hua rubbed her arms as if brushing off goosebumps, thoroughly disgusted. Can you stop letting your imagination run wild? I've already told you. I don't like you and I will never be with you, not back then and not now. Ning Yu's face darkened. He stepped forward, only to be blocked by Ji Chuan. Didn't you hear her say you two are barely acquainted? Stay away from her. Shielded behind Ji Chuan, Tong Hua peeked out with half her face visible. Outnumbered 2-1, she felt confident. That's right. You should leave now. Ning Yu's chest heaved violently. He stared at her grimly and tossed out a warning. Tong Hua, don't come to regret this. Then he turned and strode away. So he could understand perfectly well when he wanted to. Tong Hua pouted. He'd just been pretending not to get it, trying to haggle with her. After changing into slippers, Ji Chuan tactfully said nothing about what had just transpired. He spoke gently instead. Hua Hua, are you feeling unwell anywhere? Tong Hua sank back onto the sofa, speaking casually. It's nothing serious. It's just my menstrual period. I don't want to catch a draft. Ji Chuan nodded in understanding. Rest was essential at such times. He promptly poured her a cup of warm water. Seeing her complexion ease a little after drinking, he pulled a delicate blue gift box out of his pocket. Hua Hua, I designed this necklace myself. It's for you. Tong Hua's gaze was drawn to the jewelry. It was a pendant shaped like a Libra scale, dainty and refined. The silvery scale beam and pans featured clean lines, topped with a small yet brilliant diamond. It's such a unique design. You design necklaces? That's amazing. Ji Chuan grew lightheaded from her praise. He gazed into her obsidian-like eyes and smiled shyly, a lovely flush spreading across his handsome features. I'm glad you like it. By the way, lie down and rest if you're uncomfortable. I'll stay here with you. Let me know if you need anything. All right. Tong Hua enjoyed watching the handsome man flush for a moment, then reached to put the necklace on herself. Ji Chuan brightened at the sight and quickly stepped forward to fasten it carefully for her. A phone notification chimed. Stamina in Ocean Survival had fully replenished. Tong Hua opened the game and saw her stamina restored to 10 points. Ji Chuan leaned over curiously and said he would download the game to play alongside her. Tong Hua welcomed the idea wholeheartedly. Gaming was far more fun with a partner. Ever since she inherited enough wealth to last multiple lifetimes, she'd chosen to live a laid-back life. She loved gaming and did not hesitate to spend money in-game. She was the only one spending, and the funds would never run dry. Her sole goal now was to live comfortably and happily. She adjusted into a relaxed posture against the back of the sofa. Downloading the game took a while, so Ji Chuan quietly sat beside her, watching her play as he waited. Tong Hua cast the game onto her 100-inch screen, easing the strain on her eyes instantly. Raft upgrade successful. Current level, 1, travel speed, 0.5 knots/hour new edition. Accelerator device consumes 1 wood every 10 minutes, plus 0.1 knots/hour resources required for next upgrade. Wood times 50, iron plate times 50, cloth times 50. The level 2 raft was noticeably larger, with an energy consumption compartment on the left for storing fuel wood. Tong Hua steered the raft. It moved far faster than before. Instead of rushing to search for supplies after upgrading, she pulled out her high-priced legendary fishing rod and tried casting a line. Equip bait? Hint: fishing without bait increases odds of hooking wandering creatures. She had no idea what wandering creatures were, but the name sounded ominous. Players only had one life in the game, and she'd just made substantial in-game purchases. She could not afford to ruin her run. Tong Hua pressed the controller button to equip bait. She cast the long line out. Moments later, the float dipped sharply. Something had taken the bait. Reel in. Stamina 1. Obtained winged fish times 1. The freshly caught fish flailed wildly on the raft, its too thin, dragonfly-like wings beating rapidly. It was then she noticed there was no inventory icon anywhere on the screen. Tong Hua pressed every button repeatedly, trying to figure out how to store her catch. While she was distracted, the winged fish flicked its tail, leaped, and slipped back into the ocean. The fish escaped, as it was not secured. Ji Chuan could not hold back a laugh. Tong Hua? She shot him a glance, and Ji Chuan immediately pretended to be busy tapping away on his phone. Tong Hua pulled out her ace move. She quickly searched for game guides. A post titled Ocean Survival has no inventory. Is this reasonable? Caught her eye. The poster, with the ID Fancy Potato Chips, shared a recorded gameplay video. In the footage, the player's character caught a giant tuna. As the gamer paused to take a screenshot, the fish slipped away. Casual onlooker, haha, looks like plenty of players have fallen for this trap. Any fish you catch needs to go into a fish basket, aquarium, or storage crate right away. They won't just wait around for you to cook them. Red Dust Traveler. You can also butcher them immediately. Meddlesome type. How do you butcher fish? I can't find that option anywhere. Red Dust Traveler. You need a bladed weapon. Save this thread. Where do you get weapons? I checked the shop and didn't see any for sale. Useless debater. Wait, does this game seriously not have an inventory system? Milk Tea Lifeline. I bet inventory unlocks later. How else are we supposed to play? She gathered plenty of useful information from the thread. Crafting stations were required to make items. Fish baskets and fishing nets both needed blueprints. Food had to be cooked over heat or sliced using bladed weapons. Eating raw food raised the risk of illness. Tong Hua was confused. The character stat panel showed no hunger meter, so what purpose did consuming food serve? Weapons were obtained by opening treasure chests. Players had reported finding wooden, copper, and silver chests, each yielding vastly different tiers of loot. Jichuan read through the guides alongside Tong Hua. Just then, loud game audio played from his phone. His game finished downloading. Jichuan logged in and stared at the blocky pixel graphics. He glanced up at Tong Hua's massive 100-inch display, wondering if they were even playing the same game. It did not matter much, though. The small screen was playable, even if the text was tiny. Without storage containers, any fish Tong Hua caught would escape, so she steered the raft toward the floating marker indicating the next drift object. 5 minutes passed, and the screen looked unchanged, nothing but endless blue seawater. She was starting to suspect a game bug when a second pointer appeared on her navigation indicator. A treasure chest marker. Tong Hua immediately steered the raft toward the shorter pointer. She had hoped to conserve resources, yet the movement speed was far too slow. She opened the energy compartment and placed one piece of wood inside. She could not tell if the speed increased, with no reference points on the open water. At last, an object came into view, a copper chest. Tong Hua grew excited. Perhaps her 9-point luck stat was working its magic. It was not a basic wooden chest. She loved opening loot boxes. She expended 1 stamina point to haul the chest aboard and opened it. Only a slip of paper lay inside. Obtained summon scroll for the mysterious merchant ×1 first-time use for any new race grants a 10 discount store-wide. No one in the forum threads had mentioned this item. Curious, Tong Hua activated the scroll. You have summoned the mysterious merchant. You have 30 minutes to browse their wares. Recycle copper chest for copper ingots ×10? No. She had yet to discover other ways to obtain copper ingots besides recycling chests, so she kept it for now. Tong Hua waited, scanning the waters left and right. Where was the merchant? A whirlpool suddenly churned 3 meters ahead of the raft, ringed with iridescent bubbles. A siren wearing a sheer fabric top hat, with delicate, lovely features and draped in a massive crimson cloak, flicked her tail and leaped onto Tong Hua's raft. The raft wobbled unsteadily beneath the new arrival. Siren merchant level? The siren carried a large golden sack. Human? I've never seen your race before. Her gaze swept over Tong Hua and the nearly empty raft, and she pouted deeply. Seriously, you look so impoverished. I hope I didn't make this trip for nothing, human. Tong Hua, having once again been judged as poor, this game was awfully snobbish. You could barely progress without spending money? Here, take a look. The siren tossed over a scroll. A floating item list materialized in front of them. Common goods list 1. Starfall berries ×2 consumed to gain 1 random attribute point, 20,000 boundless coins. Wind blade /1 combat skill, upgradable. Note, can be used to process food, though higher wastage occurs. 150,000 boundless coins. Damaged Cecilia's pendant ×1 once worn by the legendary overlord Cecilia. Though broken, it retains faint power. Equip effect, recover 1 stamina per minute. 30,000 boundless coins. White Cat Association Aquarium ×1 capable of housing intelligent creatures, 50,000 boundless coins. Ever fragrant worm bait ×1 essential for a comfortable life. Using this bait raises chances of catching edible sea creatures. Permanently bound upon acquisition, never lost. 80,000 boundless coins. Constant temperature quilt ×1 too hot or cold. This quilt maintains a comfortable temperature for your rest. 30,000 boundless coins. Universal pouch times 100 storage slots. Stack limit of 9,999 per slot. 100,000 boundless coins. Siren crafted perfume times 1. Wear it to draw universal admiration. Of course, you may also risk being captured. Single use only. 10,000 boundless coins. She spotted small text along the bottom. Recharge portal. Tiered pricing. Regular 0 no discount. Platinum member 10,010 off. Starlight member 300,030 off. Star Apex member 1,050,000 off. As the first human to summon the mysterious merchant, you receive exclusive 10 off store-wide. If not for the large 100-inch screen, she would never have spotted such tiny print. In other words, purchasing Star Apex member status now would save 900,000 coins. Combined with the one-time 10 discount for humans, this might be a unique server-wide opportunity. The offer was too tempting to pass up. Tonghua immediately navigated to the payment page, upgraded to the highest membership tier, and bought every listed item. She found the Star Apex 50 discount stacked under the Human First User 10 discount. Goods valued at 470,000 coins cost her merely 47,000. Tonghua felt triumphant over the great bargain. When she closed the shop interface, she watched the siren merchant's sour expression melt away into obvious friendliness. Please forgive my earlier rudeness, wealthy guest. The siren smiled widely, her enormous tail sweeping elegant arcs through the air. She twisted her wrist as if performing magic and held out a conch alongside a golden card. I am Shania. This is my token. Blow the conch if you need me, and I will come. After the first summons, there is a mandatory 30-day cooldown before I can be called again. Additionally, your coin balance is stored on this Siren Chamber of Commerce gold card. You may trade with any merchants affiliated with our chamber or in public zones across all realms. Tonghua held the card, and the display showed her balance, 953,000 boundless coins. Shania was in excellent spirits. Completing this transaction would qualify her to apply for promotion to Star Apex Agent. She would gain a larger cavern dwelling, and then she could select several handsome attendants. The prospect delighted her. Seeing Tonghua accept the items, Shania asked if she required further assistance. Tonghua did not reply, not for lack of desire, but because the game interface offered no text input or dialogue options whatsoever. Not receiving a response, Shania wove a quick hand seal. A glowing blue teleport array unfolded beneath her, and she vanished in an instant. Tonghua took screenshots of all her newly acquired goods and posted them to her social media account to share her haul. The post blew up rapidly, racking up tens of thousands of likes in a short time. The comment section buzzed with discussion. Some mocked the pay-to-win mechanics, others voiced envy, and many complained about the game's design flaws. Tonghua was unaware that advertisements for ocean survival had spread pervasively across Blue Planet, comparable to a viral outbreak, keeping technical departments across every nation occupied. Tonghua strapped the universal pouch around her waist, equipped the pendant, learned the combat skill, and ate both starfall berries. She stowed all extra items inside the pouch. Glancing sideways, she noticed Ji Chuan frowning. Curious about his starting experience, she leaned over to look at his screen. Ji Chuan's character had lost more than half its health, trapped on the edge of an ocean whirlpool. No matter how he maneuvered, he could not escape the vortex. Ji Chuan felt discouraged. He had not even gotten to play alongside Tonghua yet. Would his character die this early? Tonghua spotted the shop icon. Why not check the shop for supplies? Ji Chuan acted before he finished processing the thought and tapped open the shop he had ignored earlier. Only 2 items were listed. Air Lotus times 5 activates automatically upon submersion. Each grants 30 minutes of unrestricted underwater breathing. Special price, 300 boundless coins, highly recommended. Moon Eroded Dagger. Each attack drains enemy health and deals damage equal to one of the target's maximum HP. Special price, 2,888 boundless coins. Do not underestimate the dangers of these seas. It would take nearly 100 strikes to defeat a single enemy with this weapon. Ji Chuan had little choice. Purchasing these 2 items drastically boosted his survival odds. He completed the payment, and the next second, his character was pulled beneath the waves. A long stretch passed, and the screen remained pitch black. Tonghua and Ji Chuan stared at each other. Had his character died permanently? The view shifted abruptly. Ji Chuan's character floated inside a dim blue underwater cavern. Strange lights glimmered along the cave walls, and a silver chest sat at the center, tangled in seaweed. Tong Hua's eyes widened. A silver chest? No wonder people say fortune favors those who embrace risk. Ji Chuan breathed a sigh of relief. The air lotus took effect, halting further health loss. Ji Chuan swam toward the silver chest, only to freeze when he spotted a crab-like monster charging at him with raised pincers. He counterattacked with his dagger, yet the monster's strikes hurt far more than his own. Luckily, the creature moved sluggishly. Ji Chuan dodged continuously, and after landing nearly 100 hits, the monster collapsed, leaving loot behind. Obtained savory blue spider crab claw ×1. Seeing the claw was edible, Ji Chuan consumed it. No stat notifications appeared. He wondered if food restored health. His HP had fully recovered after defeating the monster, leaving him unable to confirm its effect. Hurry and open the chest. What's inside? Tong Hua urged. Ji Chuan laughed at her eagerness and wasted no time approaching the chest to unlock it. Brilliant multicolored light erupted outward. Obtained Honor Scepter, damage equals strength ×30, attack range 50 meters, cooldown 2 seconds. Obtained Honor Heart Guard, shield value equals constitution ×30, passive shield regeneration equals constitution times 0.1 per second. After equipping both pieces, a set bonus activated, all combat stats doubled. Tong Hua couldn't help asking Ji Chuan what his luck stat was. 13 points, Ji Chuan answered honestly. He was practically born under a lucky star. Tong Hua looked at all the gear she had bought and fell silent. How could there be such a massive gap between people? It was nothing impressive. She could hold her own. Angle, she shot Ji Chuan a sideways glance. Who could tell who would come out on top between a lucky player and a paying player? Ji Chuan did not notice her expression, busy searching for monsters to test his new weapon. Seeing Ji Chuan settled into the game, Tong Hua intended to send him an invite, yet she could not locate any friend list button. She sighed. It seems there's no way to add friends in this game. Ji Chuan pulled his attention back. He had wanted to experience the game together with Tong Hua above all else. Playing separately defeated the purpose. He scanned the interface thoroughly with no luck, then checked the official website for updates. At last, he pointed to a line of tiny text at the bottom. Friend functions are coming. The servers will undergo maintenance starting midnight tonight. The new update launches at 5 tomorrow morning, and social features will unlock then. Tong Hua squinted to read the words, smaller than mosquito legs. Servers under maintenance midnight, 5 a.m. Post-update, all life forms originating from Blue Planet will be transferred to the Boundless Star. Trading, social systems, leaderboards, and more will be activated shortly after. Transferring every living being from Blue Planet? The developers certainly wrote boldly. She suspected complaints would pour in soon enough. Tong Hua leaned back on the sofa again. Her raft felt empty. She wanted to place the White Cat Association aquarium at the stern, yet a system alert warned the weight would risk capsizing the vessel. She stowed it back into storage. Suddenly, the game started enforcing realistic physics. The list of odd design choices in this game was endless. Could it be that they launched an unfinished build? Tong Hua was not ready to quit, not after purchasing so many items that she had barely used. She sorted through her acquired supplies. Level 1 Wind Blade /0/100ths. Unleash 1 blade of wind, dealing damage equal to the user's strength ×3. Consumes 1 mental power per use, 3-second cooldown. 2 random attribute points from Starfall Berry went into Constitution, raising it to 3 points. She used the copper treasure chest as a chair. Sitting atop it, she took out the Marvel fishing rod, baited it with the unbreakable fragrant worm bait, and cast her line. The tiny in-game character swung hard, sending the float landing on the open sea. Several fish silhouettes could be seen circling nearby. Was this the power of a 1,000 resource acquisition boost? The float dipped sharply, and Tong Hua reeled in immediately. You obtained delicious tuna ×1. Tong Hua tried casting wind blade /. 3 translucent gusts sliced through the fish. Proficiency +1. You obtained delicious raw fish slices ×10. Proficiency? Tong Hua opened her status panel and saw level 1 wind blade /1 out of 100. Now she understood. She could level up skills once her proficiency filled the bar. If that was the case, she unleashed the skill repeatedly at empty space. Her mental energy dropped by half, yet she gained no proficiency. It seemed the attack had to hit a physical target. Tong Hua ate 1 delicious raw fish slice. A notification popped up, stamina +1. That was unexpected. Comment sections online all claimed food served no purpose. Perhaps only food marked delicious granted stat bonuses. The unbreakable fragrant worm bait remained firmly fixed to the hook with no wear and tear. She cast again and caught more fish. She soon noticed each fish variety occupied a separate inventory slot, so she decomposed all of them into raw fish slices. Once her mental energy fell to just 1 point, she had collected 29 delicious raw fish slices and 30 regular raw fish slices. The system warned that depleting mental energy entirely risked fainting, so she stopped using skills and focused solely on fishing. Her pendant restored 1 point of stamina every minute. With the 1,000 bonus accelerating fishing, she could head toward floating debris and treasure chests whenever her stamina ran low. Her raft often sailed for more than a minute at a time, meaning she practically possessed unlimited stamina. In other words, while everyone else rested, she kept growing stronger. Others ran out of stamina, but Tonghua never did. While competitors took breaks, she continued salvaging supplies. If leaderboards were sorted by resource haul after the update, she stood an excellent chance of ranking high. Her vision sounded promising. Gathering resources felt satisfying, yet the cycle grew tedious after several rounds. Before long, drowsiness washed over her. Tonghua yawned. Her body felt fatigued during her menstrual cycle. She settled into a comfortable position on the sofa and covered herself with a thin blanket. An idea crossed her mind. She had ready help right beside her. Handing her phone to Ji Chuan, she spoke sleepily. I'm exhausted and want a nap. Could you gather resources for me? Of course. Rest easy. Ji Chuan smiled gently and took the phone. As a gaming enthusiast, he quickly grasped the gameplay after a little tinkering. Tonghua closed her eyes not far from him. Ji Chuan's gaze drifted away from the game and settled quietly on her face. Her skin was fair, almost flawless. Her eyebrows curved like distant mountain ridges, long eyelashes resting upon her lids as if poised butterflies. Beneath her delicate nose lay soft pink lips, making her look like a lifelike doll. He forced himself to look away. One person could easily operate 2 accounts in this game. If Tonghua loved playing it, he needed to grow stronger so he could carry her through challenges later. What he did not know was that the moment he took her phone, the luck stat on Tonghua's panel jumped to 13. High luck naturally attracted many unexpected encounters. After Ji Chuan opened a silver treasure chest and followed a passage outward, he stumbled upon a secret realm entrance. His heirling item still had plenty of duration remaining. While collecting floating debris for Tonghua's account, he wandered all over the secret realm. He spoke to every NPC he spotted and rummaged through every pile of trash, ignoring the obvious disdain on nearby non-player characters' faces. Deep in the 3rd basement level of an abandoned residential zone, he even found a secret realm merchant hiding inside a kettle within a storage crate. Secret realm merchant. How did anyone find me hiding here? Ji Chuan, there's a merchant inside this beat-up kettle. The merchant sold only 2 outfits. One was the blazing fire garb unique, stackable with other equipment. It blocked all detection and repelled stains. The other was the ice frost robe unique with identical effects. Both bore the unique tag and cost 58,000 currency apiece. Considering they were limited items, he bought both. He planned to trade the robe to Tonghua once item trades became available. What he needed most urgently was a vessel. Yet after exploring the entire secret realm, he found no ships for sale. Panic crept in. Without a boat, he could not survive on the open sea and would perish upon exiting the realm. His heirling had 30 minutes left. Calming his nerves, he observed nearly every spot in the secret realm held collectible materials, except the largest structure, the Temple of Silas. He had searched the temple several times before and found nothing to pick up. He entered the Temple of Silas once more. A towering statue of the deity loomed overhead, draped in flowing robes. Shadows shrouded its upper portion, obscuring its features completely. He combed through the area again and still uncovered nothing. Something was wrong. There should be rewards here. A deity, perhaps offerings were required? Ji Chuan laid the fruits he had collected on the floor before Silas' statue. The deity dislikes this offering. The sudden notification made his heart leap. This could work. He placed every item in his inventory before the statue one after another, repeatedly receiving the message. The deity dislikes this offering. That changed when he set a boundless coin he had fished out of a trash bin on the ground. The deity favors this offering, yet finds the amount insufficient and remains unsatisfied. He laid down a second coin. The deity favors this offering, yet finds the amount insufficient and remains unsatisfied. Jichuan had only found 2 boundless coins in total. He possessed no more to offer. A game prompt appeared. Would you like to recharge 50,000 to exchange for 50,000 boundless coins and unlock the Divine Audience channel? 50,000? He read that correctly. How greedy was Silas? Jichuan had no choice but to complete the purchase. He had already spent over 100,000 on outfits he had not even equipped. If he failed to secure a way to survive, all that money would be wasted. People often become trapped by sunk costs. The deity accepts your offering. You may voice one request. Whether it is granted depends on its mood. A text input box popped up before him. Depends on its mood? Typical divine arrogance. He typed reluctantly, I wish to obtain a ship. The deity approves your request. Congratulations on acquiring Silas Vessel Level 1. Jichuan exhaled slowly. At last he had a ship. Named after the deity, it ought to be fairly high tier. Before he could inspect its stats, another alert appeared. You have no underwater breathing apparatus remaining. Exit the secret realm now? Jichuan selected yes. The screen faded to black. He returned to the open ocean, sprawled across a shabby fishing boat whose hull blended nearly seamlessly with seawater. There was no cabin, only a pair of oars mounted at the stern. It looked extremely rudimentary. Silas Vessel Level 1. Handcrafted by Silas himself. This was his favorite vessel in youth, accompanying him through his hardest trials. Materials required for next upgrade: tiger shark fins ×10, wooden planks ×100. While controlling Tonghua's character, Jichuan adopted her usual strategy, searching for guides. What are tiger shark fins? Where to find tiger shark fins in ocean survival? Tiger sharks in extreme survival mode, ocean survival. No useful results surfaced. In that moment, he envied Tonghua's account. The item pointer was incredibly useful, and her pendant was practically a cheat item. Comparing his upgrade requirements against hers filled him with dismay. Upgrading his ramshackle ship seemed incredibly difficult. Would he end up being the one carried instead? Tonghua woke at 6 in the evening. Jichuan was still diligently gathering resources on her behalf. Seeing her stir, he set down the phone and asked gently, "Are you hungry?" Tonghua nodded. The family cook was on leave these days, so she had been ordering takeout. Jichuan handed her mobile phone back to her and stood. "I'll cook some congee." Tonghua took the phone, surprised. She had assumed Jichuan was a wealthy young man and used to housework, never expecting he could cook. Her obvious astonishment made Jichuan chuckle. "My family wasn't always well off. I lived alone through most of my school years. I had to cook or go hungry." He walked toward the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and skillfully began preparing ingredients. Tonghua had not anticipated his background. She avoided dwelling on the subject and spoke sincerely. "You're far more capable than me. I just toss ingredients into one pot and boil them. The only guarantee is everything is cooked." She stretched and headed to the bathroom. When she glanced in the mirror, she once again admired her reflection. Another beautiful day. After freshening up, she leaned back on the soft sofa and picked up her phone to check her inventory. In just a few hours, Jichuan had collected 238 wooden planks, 45 iron sheets, 46 cloth pieces, 32 ropes for wooden treasure chests, 2 copper treasure chests, 130 ordinary fish, and 59 delicious fish. The wide variety of fish nearly filled her inventory slots. It was an impressive haul. Delighted, Tonghua began opening treasure chests. Obtained iron sheet ×5, small bread ×2, 500 milliliters purified water ×6, fire starter blueprint ×1, cloth piece ×10, quack umbrella ×1. This wooden crate can be recycled into wooden planks ×40. Recycle? Yes. Tonghua checked her raft stats. Materials required for the next level: wooden planks 278 fiftieths, iron sheets 50 fiftieths, cloth pieces 56 fiftieths. Raft meets upgrade requirements. Proceed with upgrade? Upgrade. Upgrade will take 30 minutes. A faint white mist wrapped around the raft. Tonghua set her phone aside and glanced toward Jichuan, who remained focused on cooking. She grabbed her tablet to browse online. Breaking news: mysterious black man-eating vortex appears on streets near Shanghai Shopping Center in Engshi. The headline caught her eye, and she tapped to open the article. The video showed a packed, noisy crowd. A reporter struggled to push forward and questioned a tall spectator in the front row. "Buddy, what's happening ahead?" "No clue. People say someone vanished inside the black mist." "What?" The reporter could barely believe his ears. "Everyone, please make way." He forced his way forward, climbed onto a stone bollard, and lifted the camera. A swirling mass of black fog filled the frame, moving slowly in a vortex pattern. A vacuum zone stretched nearly 30 meters around it, and no one dared draw near. Voices buzzed in the crowd. "Is this real? People claim this black fog consumes humans. I saw it happen. It's not exactly eating people." This thing materialized in the middle of the road. The man walking ahead of me just disappeared out of nowhere. It definitely doesn't look like anything normal. Must be a hoax. Who spreads these unscientific rumors? Watch this. A man standing at the front stepped slightly closer, hurling a half-empty water bottle straight into the fog. The bottle vanished instantly. The swirling black mist rippled outward from the impact. Panic swept through the onlookers. Those in the front turned and fled shouting, while people further back tried to push forward, throwing the scene into chaos. The video cut off there. Tong Hua's eyes widened. She sat upright and saved the video without hesitation. Was this a prank or genuine? She searched for related footage, yet the results stopped loading the instant they appeared. She switched to other websites, but every platform stalled mid-load with a spinning icon. Tong Hua then realized she had no internet connection, even though the Wi-Fi symbol in the corner of her tablet remained visible. Her intuition screamed that something was wrong. She asked Ji Chuan to test his connection, and he confirmed the network was down. Tong Hua explained everything seriously. Ji Chuan raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical that she believed such footage. Tong Hua's expression stayed solemn as she played the video for him. "This is extremely strange. Hopefully it amounts to nothing, but if it's real, you should head home to discuss things with your family as soon as possible." After watching the footage, Ji Chuan also sensed something deeply unnatural. He thought it over and nodded. He finished his cooking and set a steaming bowl of preserved egg and pork congee on the dining table. "Eat first. There's plenty more in the pot. I'm going home to talk to my father." Tong Hua nodded and walked him to the doorway. The incident defied logic. She composed a message and sent it to every contact and group chat she belonged to. Unsurprisingly, none of the messages went through. She sighed and massaged her temples. Her mind raced through apocalyptic scenarios, zombie outbreaks, natural disasters, and more. She had ample daily supplies and food stockpiled at home to sustain her for 2 to 3 months. Until she understood what was unfolding, she resolved to stay indoors. She disconnected the controller and called her only close friend Lin Shishir. Fortunately, the call connected. Tong Hua recounted everything calmly and noted it might still be a false alarm. "Huh?" A shocked cry came through the receiver. Lin Shishir recognized the gravity in Tong Hua's tone. Knowing Tong Hua never joked lightly about serious matters, she took the warning seriously. "Understood. I'll start making preparations." After hanging up, Tong Hua breathed out slowly and sat at the table, stirring the hot congee. Clearly, with communication channels disrupted, only a small number of people knew about the vortex. She pushed the troubling thoughts aside. Once she finished eating, she washed the bowls, sealed the leftover congee with plastic wrap, and placed it in the refrigerator. Tong Hua lay back on the sofa to rest. Without internet, her phone was little more than a useless slab of electronics, discarded beside her. Ding! Her phone emitted a notification tone. Her ears perked up. Had the network returned? She grabbed the device and read the alert. Ocean survival. Vessel upgrade complete. Hoping connectivity was restored, she tried searching online. Still no signal. She blinked in confusion. How could the game run without internet? It was not designed as an offline title. She set aside the question. After washing up, she settled back on the sofa, plugged her phone into the controller, and turned on screen mirroring. The game was her only distraction from unease. Raft upgrade successful. Current level, 2. Travel speed, 1 knot/hour. Durability, 100. Accelerator device consumes 1 wooden plank every 30 minutes, plus 0.5 knots/hour. New addition, basic crafting table ×1. Materials required for next upgrade, wooden planks ×200, iron sheets ×200, cloth pieces ×200, ropes ×200, screws ×50. The upgraded raft now featured a durability stat alongside the new crafting table. Tong Hua recalled seeing players share screenshots of crafting tables online, meaning others had built level 2 rafts already. How quickly they progressed. She pulled all fish from her inventory and decomposed them using Wind Blade Slash. Skill: Wind Blade Slash has leveled up. Level 2 Wind Blade /112/500 unleashes 2 gusts of wind dealing damage equal to strength times 6. Costs 1 mental energy per cast, 3-second cooldown. Obtained raw fish slices times 1300, delicious raw fish slices times 590. After another cast of her line, a massive dark silhouette approached. Warning, large creature closing in. Red text flashed repeatedly. The float dipped sharply and was dragged far away within seconds. The tiny character on the raft nearly got pulled overboard. Panicking, Tong Hua cast Wind Blade slash toward the shadow. A cloud of dark blood spread across the sea surface. The fish paused, then thrashed even more violently, dragging the character toward open water. Tong Hua spotted the creature's health bar. 1 Wind Blade slash had stripped away 1/3 of its vitality. She unleashed Wind Blade slash again and missed. You're about to be pulled outside the raft's safe zone by the Kika fish. Release the line. No way. She could not abandon her legendary fishing rod and everlasting bait. Wind Blade slash. The fish lost another large chunk of health. One more accurate strike would be enough. The silhouette shifted direction, granting Tong Hua a brief window. She was dragged all the way to the edge of the red boundary on screen. Worse still, she could not consume food to restore stamina mid-conflict. If she crossed the line, she would exhaust all stamina swimming back and drown. This was her final chance. Though anxiety surged, Tong Hua steadied her aim at the shadow and hit. She heaved the fishing rod upward with a splash. Obtained delicious Kika fish chunks times 10. She did not pause to examine the loot. She swam straight back toward the raft as quickly as possible. Her stamina plummeted, yet she scrambled aboard with barely any energy left. She ate 10 delicious raw fish slices to fully recover. That had been a close call. Tong Hua's mood lifted. Unsure what effect delicious Kika fish chunks carried, she consumed one directly. Mental energy plus 10. So they restored mana. Such items were common enough in games, yet hard to acquire. The level 2 raft sailed noticeably faster. Tong Hua steered toward the direction marked by her item pointer. Before long, she spotted a swirling mass of black fog. Her heart tightened. It looked identical to the vortex shown in the video. She navigated closer slowly. Unstable spatial gate detected. Warning. Extreme danger. Do not approach. Seeing the game warning, Tong Hua steered far backward. She made a wide detour around the fog bank and continued sailing toward the pointer's direction. Was it just a coincidence? This was supposed to be nothing more than an ordinary pay-to-play game. But why could she still play it without an internet connection? She quickly shook her head and focused on scavenging for supplies. At midnight, an announcement took over the screen. Server maintenance. May everyone rest well tonight and embrace a new life starting tomorrow. Tong Hua had found 9 wooden crates and planned to open all 10 together. Unfortunately, before she could locate the final crate, she was kicked offline. Never mind. It was far too late, and exhaustion washed over her. Before she knew it, Tong Hua drifted off to sleep. Tong Hua dreamed, though she could not recall any details, only a lingering sense of dizziness. She rolled over and frowned. Why did her bed feel so hard? Her soft, cozy bed should never be this rigid. It was freezing. Had she fallen onto the floor? Tong Hua slowly pried her eyes open. Stretching out before her was an endless blue ocean, and she was lying atop a stiff wooden raft. She shot upright in shock. What was happening? Had she been abducted in the middle of the night? They'd even taken her out to sea. Warily, Tong Hua scanned her surroundings. There was no one else nearby. She still wore the nightgown she'd slept in, not even a pair of shoes on her feet. The crude crafting station, the dark acceleration device, and the copper treasure chest placed right in the center, everything looked hauntingly familiar. Tong Hua squeezed her eyes shut, unable to accept that she had truly been transported into the game. She hadn't even spent all her money back on Blue Star. Wait, the most important thing right now, her treasure satchel. Tong Hua glanced all around the empty raft. The copper chest was bare as well. Where was the satchel holding all her belongings? I'm doomed, she thought. With her poor physical stamina, how many days could she survive out on the open ocean? It would all depend on luck. Welcome to Boundless Star. I am Human Guide 996. An ethereal voice echoed out. Tong Hua tensed, searching for its source, yet nothing stretched out before her but seawater. There is no need for alarm. Allow me to briefly explain your current situation. The anchor point of Blue Star has been locked. Those black fog formations you witnessed are high-tier star teleportation gates. This disaster stems from the technology your species holds in such high regard. Once the teleportation gates finish stabilizing, creatures from the high-tier star will descend and plunder every resource your planet possesses. Simply put, you have been targeted, and you stand no chance of victory. Tonghua wondered silently. How could they be certain of defeat before battle had even begun? Intelligent life is rare to nurture. Boundless Star is the largest habitable planet in the cosmos, home to countless races. Joining Boundless Star presents humanity with an opportunity for a fresh start. Everything she had learned growing up told Tonghua that there was no such thing as a free lunch. If so many different races gathered here, surely some were far more advanced than humans. Originally, mankind only needed to fend off invaders from a single high-tier star. Now they would face dozens, hundreds, perhaps thousands of powerful alien species. How drastically had the odds stacked against them? Was this supposed fresh start truly a blessing? Personal data interface now unlocked. You may access it via your wrist. Following Guide 990 SIXS prompt, Tonghua noticed a pale blue symbol materializing on her left wrist. What is this? The thought had barely crossed her mind when a translucent virtual panel unfolded. Stellar Era 384, 29th of the 5th month, 518. Module 1. Personal Statistics. Name, Tonghua Editable. Constitution, 3. Health points, 300. Stamina, 10 out of 10. Strength, 1. Luck, 9 bonus 3 luck points for gaining early access to the game. Vehicle, level 2 wooden raft. Skill, level 2 wine blade /115/500. Pending claim, treasure satchel ×1. Glancing over her stats, Tonghua tried to stay optimistic. Her physical abilities might be lacking, but at least all her limbs remained intact. Her gaze landed on the final entry, and she stared in disbelief. Wait, Windblade Slash? The treasure satchel? She reached through the hologram and grasped the familiar small black pouch. When she unzipped it, a virtual storage grid with 100 slots appeared. Every supply she had collected the previous day was safely inside. Tonghua nearly teared up. She was saved. She tied the satchel securely around her waist, then took out and equipped the damaged Cecilia's pendant. Tonghua continued examining the panel. Module 2, Trading Hub. 3 subsections were available. Chamber of Commerce Trading Zone, split into multiple factions: Siren Chamber, Giant Whale Chamber, Sky Kite Chamber. Tonghua could only browse goods from the Siren Chamber. The selection was sparse, filled with odd items purchasable only with boundless coins. Prices were exorbitant, and the merchandise paled in comparison to what Shania had sold her yesterday. The Giant Whale and Sky Kite Chambers were grayed out, inaccessible for now. The second section was the Human Trading Zone. Players could list items and set custom exchange terms. At the moment, it was completely empty. The final section belonged to the system itself. For 1 boundless coin, specific items such as treasure chests could be disassembled. Living creatures could not be broken down. Tonghua listed 10 raw fish fillets in exchange for 10 screws. The trade was instantly claimed. Completed exchanges arrived in the storage area at the bottom of the panel, acting as a supplementary backpack. She immediately posted another 40 raw fish fillets, asking for 40 screws, yet no one responded for a long while. After a moment of consideration, she withdrew the listing and reposted them in sets of 5, 8 groups total. Trades went through quickly. Having gathered 1 type of material required for raft upgrades, she moved on. Module 3, Leaderboards. Vehicle Rankings. 1. Potato Pancake 2. Professional Daydreamer 3. Guyu Huai 4. Here for Casual Work 5. Tonghua. Combat Power Rankings. 1. Shangwu 2. Jichuan 3. Just Lying Low 4. Lone Sailor on the Sea 5. Tonghua. A note sat at the bottom. Leaderboards reset at 8 o'clock on the first day of every month. First place, Golden Chest ×1. Second to 10th place, Silver Chest ×1. 11th to 100th place, Copper Chest ×1. 101st to 1000th place, Wooden Chest ×1. Module 4, Social. Split into contacts and public channels. Spotting Jichuan at 2nd place on the combat leaderboard, Tonghua suspected it was the person she knew. Jichuan owned a staff and Heartguard mirror, powerful gear guaranteed to grant substantial stat boosts. She tapped the name and sent a contact request. She then searched for Lin Shishir. Lin Shishir's ID ranked above 10,000. There was no way to confirm if it was her friend. She would wait for Lin Shishir to reach out instead. Tong Hua was surprised she had worked so hard yet landed so far down the rankings. What she did not know was that this ocean survival game had spread globally in a very short time, boasting an enormous player base. Especially during those offline hours, once players discovered the game remained playable without service, concurrent users had surged past 3 million. All vehicles on the leaderboard were currently level 2. Those at the same tier were sorted by upgrade completion time, and Tong Hua had simply finished upgrading slightly later than others. If there were a resource leaderboard, she would undoubtedly hold first place. After all, no one else had spent over $1 million in game currency on the first day, thanks to catching a steep discount offer. Her morning had been filled with shock and relief. Sitting atop her copper chest, she munched on a small bread roll while tallying her supplies. Marvel Fishing Rod ×1, Unbreakable Fragrant Worm Bait ×1, White Cat Association Fish Tank ×1, Standard Fishing Rod ×1, Fishing Bait ×1000, Item Direction Needle ×1, Damaged Cecilia's Pendant ×1, Thermostatic Quilt ×1, Treasure Satchel ×1, Siren Special Perfume ×1, Siren Token ×1, Siren Chamber Gold Card ×1, Plank ×318, Cloth Scrap ×36, Rope ×32, Iron Plate ×20. Small Bread Roll ×1, 500 milliliters Purified Water ×6. Fire Starter Blueprint ×1, Quack Umbrella ×1, Screw ×50, Savory Chica Fish Cut ×4, Savory Raw Fish Fillet ×600, Raw Fish Fillet ×1389, Wooden Chest ×9. Curious what the savory raw fish fillets tasted like, Tong Hua washed her hands and popped one into her mouth. Rich, fresh flavor flooded her tongue, paired with incredibly tender texture. Even as someone who had sampled countless delicacies, she was stunned. This was absolutely amazing. She recalled savory raw fish fillets restored stamina in the game. Her stamina stat was no longer visible on her interface, so she wondered what other effects they might possess now. Rank rewards would be issued on the 1st. Today was the 29th. Tong Hua weighed which leaderboard would be easier to climb. She soon realized the goals were not mutually exclusive. She could trade surplus materials to upgrade her vehicle. Everyone had only just arrived in this world, and food was the most sought-after commodity. She roughly estimated each fillet was palm-sized and a centimeter thick, enough to curb roughly 30% of one's hunger. With that thought, she created 3 trade listings, 600 raw fish fillets, in exchange for 200 iron plates, 200 cloth scraps, and 200 ropes respectively. A sea breeze swept over, bringing a chill. She wrapped the thermostatic quilt around her shoulders, instantly warming up. Seated on the copper chest, she took out the Marvel fishing rod and cast her line. Without the 1000 pre-fishing boost she'd enjoyed previously, progress was noticeably slower. Half an hour passed before the float twitched faintly. She sorely missed the faster fishing speeds from the day before. This was Tong Hua's first real attempt at fishing. Nerves prickled her. She feared hooking a creature like the chica fish that might drag her into the ocean. Unlike the game, there was no third-person perspective or red danger markers out here. Being pulled into the sea would be deadly. She hauled the line up without refined technique. A serpent-like creature with horns covering its head and tiny sharp spines all over its body burst from the waves, thrashing violently on the hook. It's hideous. Tong Hua made a quiet sound of disgust and immediately unleashed wind blades slashed to dissect it. No floating name tags appeared like in the game. Only after it turned into 10 raw fish fillets could she confirm it counted as aquatic life. Storing the fillets away, she wondered. If skills worked here, identification abilities likely existed as well. After an hour and a half of fishing, Tong Hua recognized how optimistic she had been. She had hoped to upgrade both her raft and her combat skill, yet even after gathering enough materials for the raft, she had only caught a single creature. Even with her superior rod and bait offering dual bonuses, fishing efficiency could not be improved. At this pace, leveling wind blades slash within 2 days was nearly impossible. She temporarily set aside pursuing the combat power leaderboard and prioritized upgrading the raft. The ethereal system voice sounded. Raft upgrade initiated. Countdown, 4:59. Vehicle immobile and untargetable during the process. The upgrade duration had been cut from 30 minutes to 5. White mist enveloped her raft. Something banged against the hull repeatedly, and white feathers drifted through the fog. Tong Hua guest workers belonging to Boundless Continent were carrying out the construction. Her vision was completely obscured by the haze. She could not even view items inside her treasure satchel. She settled onto the deck to wait. Raft upgrade complete. Current tier, 3. Travel speed, 3 knots/hour. Durability, 500. Acceleration device consumes 1 plank per 60 minutes, plus 1 knot/hour. New additions, cockpit ×1, helm console ×1, crew quarters ×1. Next tier upgrade requirements, plank ×500, iron plate ×500, steel plate ×500, cloth scrap ×500, rope ×500, screw ×200. Optional special materials ×100. Note: adding special materials will trigger irreversible alterations. Proceed with caution. The mist faded. Tong Hua stared at her brand new vessel. It barely resembled a raft any longer, shaped like a small fishing boat measuring roughly 3 meters by 6 meters. Her first move was checking the leaderboard. Sure enough, Tong Hua now occupied first place on the vehicle rankings. Cheerful, she toured her new boat. The cockpit sat at the stern. The item direction needle and acceleration device were integrated into the helm console. She placed a stack of planks into the fuel slot and activated the acceleration switch. The crew quarters lay beneath the cockpit, a compact 2 by 2 meter room with a round porthole. A small basic crafting station rested below the window. Tong Hua thought it would be perfect if only there was a bed. There were still 2 days left before leaderboard rewards were issued. Too many variables existed. The fear of being overtaken weighed on her mind. Fishing had proven far too inefficient, so Tong Hua decided against trading food for supplies any longer. She walked over to the basic crafting station, slotted the fire starter blueprint into the blueprint slot, and added planks to the crafting queue. 2 seconds later, a finished fire starter appeared in the station's storage compartment. The crafting station also functioned as limited temporary storage. She queued up 100 planks to process. She opened the public chat channel and began reading. Eastern Sea Zone 01, 9862001/100000000. Help me, only a few hours have passed, and hundreds of thousands are already dead. Woken from critical illness, administrator. Who agreed to drag me to this godforsaken place? I'm already retired. Must an old man suffer like this? Is there no justice? Angler never skunks a trip. Stop complaining, everyone. Look at the fish I caught image. Lin Qianqian, can the person above quit posting? No one wants to see your fish. Angler never skunks a trip. What's wrong? Can't catch anything yourself? I've got more image. Just a sip. Angler never skunks a trip. Are you selling your catch? Empty-headed contestant. Does anyone understand? When I woke up stranded out at sea this morning, I had to spend 1 luck point to get a shoddy raft, a single fishing rod, and 50 baits. I only started with 2 luck points total. Help me. What other choice did we have? Refuse and we die. Angler never skunks a trip. I didn't have to trade anything. I already owned a boat. Image the chat flooded with questions, everyone demanding to know where he acquired the vessel. Angler never skunks a trip ignored them all, continuing to boast without explanation. Tong Hua wanted to know where such boats could be obtained. The username Angler never skunks a trip was absent from the vehicle leaderboards, meaning his craft was a base-tier model unlike her upgraded raft. Unfortunately, he refused to share any details. Those without vehicles had sacrificed luck points simply to survive. She wondered where all the consumed luck points were being diverted. What would happen to someone reduced to 0 luck points? Tong Hua shuddered at the thought. Finding nothing more useful in the chat, she prepared to close the window when a notification popped up. Ji Chuan had accepted her contact request. Ji Chuan, what did you have for dinner last night? Tong Hua, congee with preserved egg and lean pork. Ji Chuan, did I give you anything yesterday? Tong Hua, the Libra pendant necklace. Where were you yesterday afternoon? Ji Chuan, at your place. Tong Hua, who did you see at my house? Ji Chuan, someone named Gu something. Tong Hua smiled. The second-ranked combatant was indeed the Ji Chuan she knew. Both relaxed, relieved to confirm each other's identity. Ji Chuan, are you all right? Waking up here was a massive shock. Tong Hua, same here. I'm fine. Do you need food? Ji Chuan, yes. I can blast fish with my staff, but every catch shatters into unusable scraps. Tong Hua, savory raw fish fillet ×50, raw fish fillet ×50, purified water ×2 pending claim. Ji Chuan, claim successful. Ji Chuan's entire morning felt surreal. He half believed he was trapped in a nightmare. He woke up aboard a fishy, ramshackle vessel with no idea where his parents were. He had barely come to terms with reality when he discovered his staff worked differently than it had in the game. Spells that precisely stunned fish for collection in-game now blew them to unusable fragments. Without resource collection bonuses, he had sailed all morning and only found one wooden chest. Inside was a thermal quilt, an item he only received thanks to his staggering 13 luck points. Without that luck, he would have only gained basic supplies like water and bread. Not that the quilt lacked value, but food was his most urgent need right now. He was incredibly grateful to have reconnected with Tong Hua and receive her emergency supplies. Then he remembered something important. Ji Chuan, unique ice sorcerer robe ×1 pending claim. Tong Hua blinked. He had another item meant for her? Tong Hua, claim successful. A plain white robe materialized in her hands, crafted from an unknown silky fabric. It featured narrow sleeves and a high collar, pale blue thread stitching decorating the cuffs and neckline. The hem layered with countless tapering prism-shaped panels, fastened at the front with 3 sapphire buttons. The garment was thoughtfully tailored, and Tong Hua admired it for a moment before slipping it on over her nightgown. The robe covered her existing clothing completely, giving the impression she wore nothing but the thin outer garment. Tong Hua, it's beautiful. I love it. Where did you get this? Ji Chuan, glad you like it. I purchased it inside a game's secret realm yesterday. It can be stacked with other armor, blocks all detection attempts, and repels stains. Blocks all detection? This was clearly extraordinary gear. Tong Hua knew how exploitative the game could be, and this robe must have cost him a fortune. Grateful for the gift, she replied warmly. Thank you, a Chuan shouldn't have spent so much. Ji Chuan, don't mention it, Hua Hua. I planned to give it to you yesterday. I'm going to search for my parents now. Call for me if you need help. I'll assist however I can. Tong Hua, all right, go safely. Relieved to have found an acquaintance, Tong Hua hummed quietly as she retrieved the finished fire starters from the crafting station to list for trade. She kept 5 for herself and planned to sell the rest. She hesitated over pricing. Every flame-related item in the trading zone carried an outrageous markup. Matchbox 10 matches. Trade for 30 planks lighter 30 uses. Trade for 50 iron plates torch times 25-minute burn time each. 10 planks per torch. She could easily profit hugely by monopolizing fire sources in this desperate situation, and many players were doing exactly that. Yet Tong Hua chose not to. From a long-term perspective, a larger human population held distinct advantages, more diverse trade goods, and prevention of extreme monopolies. Tong Hua listed 95 fire starters on the trade market, each exchangeable for 2 planks. She would only earn 1 plank net profit from each deal. Fearing others might be unaware, she even used the chat photo function to share a picture in the main group chat. Within mere seconds, all fire starters were snapped up. She gained a total of 190 planks. Tong Hua carried this batch of planks to the crafting station and set them to work. Her friend request page was flooded. Countless people stormed her private messages to hurl abuse. They accused her of hoarding goods, disrupting everyone's livelihoods, claiming she wanted no one to profit if she could not. All manner of vicious remarks poured in. Wealth requires wisdom to earn and restraint to accumulate. Even at a time like this, they chose malicious competition. Tong Hua had never interfered with their pricing, yet they meddled in her business uninvited. With free time on her hands, she clicked on the names of those insulting her and replied sharply. Afterwards, she restricted them, no private messages, and no permission to purchase her goods. From then on, every item Tong Hua listed would only be visible to these people, never purchasable. As she sailed her ship searching for floating debris and treasure chests, she restricted every verbally abusive person one by one. She had no intention of blocking them entirely, Tong Hua thought quietly. She had plenty of time to drag this out. If she wasn't still searching for Lin Shishir, she would have long closed incoming stranger friend requests, and she would not need to listen to all this meaningless noise. During this time, Tong Hua repeatedly crafted and listed fire starters. Inevitably, her actions rippled across the entire flame resource trading zone, driving down prices for nearly all flame supplies. Before night fell, she discovered a wooden treasure chest. Combined with the 9 she had collected the previous day, she finally had 10 wooden treasure chests in total. Delighted, Tong Hua lined all the chests up neatly. Open. 1 pack 1000 G seedless watermelon, 1 bag honey butter potato chips, 12 bottles of 500 milliliters purified water, 1 toothbrush, 1 shark plush pillow, 9 small bread rolls, 3 packs of 100-sheet facial tissue, 1 hemostatic bandage. Not bad. Tong Hua stowed away all the loot. The empty wooden chests decomposed into 400 planks. She set aside 500 ship upgrade materials and poured the rest into crafting more fire starters. The last glimmer of sunlight vanished over the horizon, plunging the entire ocean into darkness. By the end of the night, Tong Hua had earned 11,210 planks selling fire starters. All other basic ship components were ready, she only lacked special materials. She could complete the upgrade without them, but after a moment's thought, she held off. Following the standard upgrade mechanics, adding special materials yielded unexpected bonus effects. This might well be the dividing line that set her apart from everyone else. The only sound reaching her ears was waves lapping against the hull. Tong Hua crept to a corner of the crew quarters, sat with her knees drawn up, and suddenly felt hungry. She pulled out a bottle of water and ate small bread rolls while drinking. Wrapped in her constant temperature quilt, her torso stayed warm, but her feet grew numb with cold. On top of that, she was on her period. A dull ache had lingered in her abdomen all day, though she had forced herself to shift focus and ignore it. She opened her virtual panel, its faint glow wrapping around her. She browsed public channel conversations. Then a private message notification chimed. Ji Chuan, it's so dark. Tong Hua, it really is dark. Ji Chuan, 1 jasmine-scented candle, 1 pair cotton slippers pending acceptance. Tong Hua, don't you need these yourself? Ji Chuan, I don't. Girls need to stay warm during their periods. Tong Hua's long eyelashes fluttered gently, warmth spreading through her chest. Tong Hua, accepted. Tong Hua, I actually have plenty of flame sources, but they lack bases and tip over easily. Tong Hua, 10 fire starters pending acceptance. Ji Chuan, it's fine, Hua Hua. I won't need them. The wind is fierce where I am. It blows out any flame instantly. Tong Hua, keep them on hold then. Claim them when you have use for them. Tong Hua took a fire starter, blew it alight, and lit the tiny disc-shaped candle, placing it some distance away. Soon, a faint jasmine aroma filled the room. Though wrapped in the constant temperature quilt, the part of her body touching the bare floor remained freezing. Tong Hua dipped a cloth in water to clean her feet, then slipped on the cotton slippers. Warmth spread through her lower body at once. Flame light cast Tong Hua, curled up like a bun, stretching her shadow long across the floor. Tong Hua, have you found your mom and dad? Ji Chuan, not yet. Tong Hua rarely comforted others and struggled to find the right words. She silently regretted asking, she could offer no real help. Sensing Tong Hua's silence, Ji Chuan spoke thoughtfully, it's all right. I'll keep searching. News will turn up eventually. Tong Hua, it will. Ji Chuan felt worn out. Deep down, he knew those words were merely self-consolation. He had no leads on finding his parents. He stuck to his old method, searching for people sharing their names and sending friend requests one after another. Yet he worried the older generation could not operate this advanced system. They might not even know how to send a friend request. Many players had upgraded their vehicles to level 2 that day, while his cellas remained level 1. He could not locate materials to upgrade his ship. He had hoped to trade resources for information on the tiger shark fin, yet all day long, he encountered people either trying to scam him with false intel or simply begging for supplies. He gained 0 useful clues. Ji Chuan had no choice. He would take things one step at a time. Sitting for so long left Tong Hua's lower body stiff and numb. She knew her own limits. She could not endure harsh living conditions. She could not stand sleeping directly on the floor. Even at her lowest point in life, she had never been forced to sleep without a bed. She searched the trade market persistently for a bed. After refreshing for 20 minutes, she spotted a seller. Simple single bed, exchange for any 100 basic materials. She acted fast and purchased it using 100 planks. The price was heavily inflated, yet to Tong Hua, satisfying her own needs came first. A 90 by 200 centimeters folding single bed with a thin cushion materialized in the cramped room. Tong Hua pushed it against the wall, wedged between the wall and the basic crafting station. Once the bed was placed, the room was packed, with no remaining space for other furniture. Tong Hua set the coin-sized scented candle atop the basic crafting station. The flame flickered, close to burning out. Before it died completely, she took out the shark plush pillow and set it at the head of the bed. She checked that her constant temperature quilt was clean, folded it lengthwise, and lay down nestled between the 2 layers of fabric. The candles sputtered out exactly then. Tong Hua closed her eyes comfortably, ready to sleep. Well, she could not fall asleep. She could never rest easily in unfamiliar beds. She reopened the chat panel to watch public discussions. Eastern C Zone 01-9821103/100000000. Lay low, selling cotton coats, send offers. Please spare me, brothers and sisters. Can anyone spare some food? I will repay the kindness. Wan Shu, anyone want survival guides? One man versus shark. Does anyone have antidote? Hash brown, Tong Hua, respond. Did you climb to the top of the rankings by price gouging in this crisis? Why not gather supplies normally? Tong Hua blinked. Why was she the topic of conversation? The username felt familiar. She suddenly recalled where she had seen it before. Hash brown used to hold first place on the vehicle leaderboard before Tong Hua overtook him. So he believed Tong Hua had snatched the guaranteed golden treasure chest from him. Tong Hua curled her lip in disdain and shot back immediately, refusing to tolerate his accusations. Tong Hua had Hash brown this mentality that everyone ought to yield to you. Who taught you that? Your father or your mother? Spectator 2, what's going on? Snack on the go, spill the tea. Enthusiastic citizen Chin. Seems Tong Hua earned plenty of materials selling flame sources and upgraded her vessel, pushing former rank 1 Hash brown out of the top spot. Spectator 2, so what? Does that mean no one else can upgrade? He has to stay first forever? Hash brown, I wouldn't complain about legitimate upgrades. But she advanced through abnormal channels. I refuse to accept it. Tong Hua, is it sore loser syndrome or genuine disagreement? Hard to tell. Lay low, if you think her methods are unfair, you can try them too. I saw Tong Hua selling fire starters for merely 2 planks apiece, usable 20 times. That seems like a fair price, not exploitation. Slipper Workshop, if you claim trading goods is an abnormal method, don't ever buy anything from abnormal channels on the trade market again. Tong Hua was relieved to see many reasonable voices. With a quick tap, she added Hash brown to her permanent no-purchase list. She listed 10,000 planks on the trade market with exchange rates, 1:1 for general basic materials, 120 for furniture, 1:100 for functional items, 1:200 for blueprints. Tong Hua, image lots of planks available. Anyone short on planks, head to the trade market to trade. Professional daydreamer, wow, 10,000. Lonely Xiaoji, everyone is struggling out there. Is it necessary to flaunt your surplus supplies like this? Old man, knock it off. I badly need planks for my upgrade. Stop disrupting things. Players lurking online noticed Tong Hua's announcement and rushed to the trade market to buy. Plenty of people lacked planks for ship upgrades. 10,000 planks sounded like a huge stockpile, but among millions of survivors, it was barely a drop in the bucket. In no time, all planks were sold out. The surrounding darkness was overwhelming. Tong Hua left the newly acquired resources stored in her panel rather than retrieving them. She took out 5,000 fire starters freshly finished at the basic crafting station and sent a photograph to the public channel. Tong Hua, all planks taken. Anyone still needing fire starters? Image. Lay low. What are you waiting for? Hurry and grab them. Top Eater, charge. Hash brown, everyone stay calm. Don't let her profit. You're falling into her trap. Old man, you stay out of this too. Craving heating, I couldn't grab any. Could the top player list another batch? Tong Hua, no more listings tonight. Get ready everyone, red envelopes coming up. Withered Rose, what? Craving heating, red envelopes? Tong Hua, 3. Draft Liar, what's this? Tong Hua, 2. Lost Wanderer, what red envelopes? Tong Hua, 1. Tong Hua, random red envelope, 50 fire starters total. Craving heating, nice. I got 2. Thank you, top player. Withered Rose, too slow, I missed out, no. Daily Cat Lover, I got 1. Thanks a lot. Zhang Jianjun, I also grabbed 1. This really helped me out of a tight spot. System announcement. The monthly settlement phase has begun. The trade zone and private player trades are temporarily suspended pending settlement. The June newcomer Secret Realm, Mermaid Palace will open soon. Secret Realm duration, 3 days. Countdown, 2,400 hours. At exactly midnight, Administrator 990 SIX's voice echoed across all channels. Tong Hua jumped at the sudden broadcast. Once she processed the notice, she felt slightly relieved. Trading being suspended meant no one was likely to gather enough resources to upgrade their ship to level 4 before the settlement ended. A secret realm too. This world truly operated like a video game. The public chat channel erupted in chatter. Tong Hua lost interest in scrolling through messages. She pulled her quilt tightly around her body, closed her eyes, and began counting sheep. By sunrise, Tong Hua was not certain she had slept at all. With dark circles under her eyes, she opened the trade interface and retrieved all items received overnight for inventory checks. 32 identification cards, 1 smart home, cute pink toilet, 1 smart home, waste shredder, 230 iron plates, 128 cloth scraps, 189 ropes, 053 steel plates. Tong Hua had searched for bathroom fixtures previously without luck. She never expected to acquire them this way. Checking her trade logs confirmed smart home devices counted as functional items instead of ordinary furniture, hence the higher exchange rate. As the name implied, Tong Hua used an identification card on both smart home appliances. Smart home, cute pink toilet, an adorably pink toilet. Upon integration with your vessel, each use costs 5 boundless coins. Smart home, waste shredder, can pulverize any non-living objects. Pulverization yields useless powder, which may have unexpected applications for plant life. Upon integration with your vessel, each use costs 5 boundless coins. No wonder the original owner traded them away. Right now, most survivors held 0 boundless coins. Even those who possess some would rarely waste them on luxury household equipment. Only Tong Hua could afford such expenditures. System detected smart home appliances. Confirm integration? Yes. Tong Hua pushed herself upright and shuddered against the frigid air. Lack of proper sanitation facilities the previous day had caused her to eat very little. She stepped outside. The pink toilet stood against the outer wall of the crew quarters, equipped with both card swipe and coin payment slots. The waste shredder was a green cubic box measuring 1 meter by 1 meter, mounted on the empty wall on the opposite side of the crew quarters. After using the toilet, she shivered so hard her teeth chattered. She washed her hands and hurried back inside to wrap herself again in the constant temperature quilt. Today was even colder than yesterday. Tong Hua steered her ship to continue searching for treasure chests. The cockpit door slid open silently. A gust of wind brushed her hair. She turned and saw a pitch-black tentacle, 3 times her own thickness, resting on the door handle. The tentacle paused briefly, locked onto her position, then twisted toward her like a serpent. What creature is this? Tong Hua fought the urge to scream. She stepped backward and unleashed wind slash at the tentacle. Smack! The tentacle sustained a small gash at its tip and slowly retreated. Tong Hua's heart sank. Wind slash dealt 12 damage points. Her direct strike only barely scraped its skin. The situation was grave. Tong Hua wanted nothing more than to avoid confrontation, but the monster had come straight for her and clearly would not leave easily. She walked toward the doorway, pupils dilating in shock. A mountain-sized beast loomed on the deck. Its body resembled translucent jelly. Its upper half formed a semicircle embedded with 2 basketball-sized, glowing eyeballs. Its lower body consisted entirely of writhing black tentacles that spread across every surface of the ship. Tong Hua's lips trembled at the sight of the colossal creature. Before she could slam the door shut, tentacles surged forward. Tong Hua froze, watching tentacles close in. She forced herself to cast her only offensive skill. The attack enraged the monster completely. Waves of tentacles descended upon her. Tentacles struck her arms, waist, and thighs, leaving wounds that instantly turned numb, stinging with a mixture of burning and sharp pain. A final blow slammed against her back, sending Tong Hua stumbling. Tong Hua cried out. Her vision spun, and she sank to one knee, gasping for breath. Every heartbeat sent throbbing pain surging through her injuries. Hot tears welled in her eyes and spilled down her cheeks. She did not want to cry. The tears were merely an involuntary physical reaction to agony. If she could view her health bar, less than a third of her HP remained. Seeing Tong Hua collapse, the monster showed no intention of stopping. Tentacles coiled tightly around her, leaving only her head exposed. The appendages twisted wildly, as if celebrating capturing prey. It dragged her toward the monster's main body. The creature's 2 lamp-like eyes blazed bright, blinding Tong Hua. Am I going to die here? Tong Hua's face flushed from constriction, her breathing growing labored. Her mind raced frantically, scrambling for a plan. Think of something. She had not yet experienced enough of life. She refused to die like this. Damn it. Why did she encounter such a terrifying beast? Was all that talk of good fortune nothing but a lie? She strained to gather energy at her fingertips and unleashed another wind slash. Squelch! The monster roared in fury. The restraints around Tonghua loosened slightly. Seizing the opening, she pulled out Siren's special perfume and crushed the bottle. In an instant, the monster froze completely. Bip, blurp. The monster appeared to attempt communication, yet Tonghua could not understand a word. I cannot understand what you're saying, Tonghua forced out with difficulty. The monster stilled, seemingly thinking. It showed no sign of killing her, yet she was rapidly suffocating in its grip. She spoke weakly. Could you loosen your hold first? I'm struggling to breathe. The monster eased its grip enough for Tonghua to draw proper breaths. Encouraged, she regulated her breathing. Blood loss made her dizzy, and persistent dull pain reminded her how precarious her situation remained. She said cautiously, "Set me down, and I won't try to run." The monster swayed its body. If it chose not to kill her, there was hope of survival. She tried bargaining. "Do you want food?" The tentacles wriggled. Blurp, bip, unable to interpret its reaction, Tonghua continued, "How about an exchange? I have many supplies in my storage. Let me down, and I can bring them out. I cannot defeat you, so there is no need to fear I will escape." Chilly sea wind swept over her. The sticky tentacles pressed against her wounded skin, stinging as though salt had been poured into open cuts. Just as Tonghua teetered on the edge of unconsciousness, the monster slowly lowered her to the deck. She quickly retrieved hemostatic bandages and pressed them to her injuries. Green light emanated from the bandages, dulling the worst of the pain. She began taking food items out one after another. Small bread rolls, ordinary raw fish slices, the monster remained motionless. When she pulled out premium raw fish slices, the creature stirred. One tentacle stretched out, picked up the fish, and deposited it into its oral cavity. Tonghua exhaled in relief. If food appealed to it, she had leverage. She kept feeding it. It consumed 200 pieces of premium raw fish before stopping. "Do you want anything else?" Tonghua asked carefully. The monster lifted a tentacle. Blurp, Tonghua could not comprehend its signal. Gradually, the beast shrank until it was no bigger than a pillow. Its translucent black body shuffled over to Tonghua. Blurp. Unable to decipher its request, Tonghua pulled out every item from her inventory one by one, praying the monster would take something and leave her ship. Until she pulled out the White Cat Association fish tank, the monster leaped upward and squeezed itself entirely inside the tank, filling it completely. It closed its eyes and settled into hibernation. Tonghua no longer thought the trading ban was a good thing. Her body was covered in wounds. She opened her status panel to check her HP. Out of her full 300 HP, only a mere 135 remained, even after applying hemostatic bandages. She paid no attention to the monster for the time being. She left it outside the cockpit and returned to the lounge. Grimacing in pain, she carefully took off her ice robe. The robe itself was completely undamaged, yet the skin underneath was torn and lacerated. She stared at her tattered, blood-stained pink nightwear, confused about how the clothes beneath the robe had gotten ripped apart. Then she reasoned that if her skin had split open, it was hardly surprising that ordinary clothing would tear too. Tonghua pressed cloth strips against her wounds and loosely tied them with rope to perform makeshift first aid. In such a state, she could barely carry out any tasks. Pale-lipped, she lay on the bed, waiting for the day to end. Once trading opens tomorrow, I have to stock up on plenty of healing supplies, Tonghua thought to herself. She lay on her side, resting her weight on her uninjured left arm. Probably due to blood loss, she drifted off to sleep before long. It was a restless slumber. Tonghua woke repeatedly from the stabbing pain of her wounds, unaware of how much time had passed in her days. Bang bang. The noise jolted her awake. Every small sound now put her on edge. Struggling through her discomfort, she sat up, stared toward the door, and assumed a guarded stance. Ranking settlement complete. Representatives have been dispatched to deliver rewards. Stay alert to your surroundings and collect your prize promptly. June Newcomer Secret Realm. Mermaid Palace is now open. Difficulty. Exploration duration. 3 days. Accessible via teleportation array. Bang bang. The sound echoed once more. Tonghua guessed the representative had come to deliver her reward. She peered out the window. The sky was no longer pitch black, as it had been the previous night. 2 enormous celestial orbs hung overhead. Nothing unusual was visible on the deck, apart from a golden circular teleportation array, the entrance to the secret realm the administrator had mentioned. She cracked open the door, waited behind it for a while to confirm there was no danger, then stepped outside. Bang bang. The noise came from the starboard side of the vessel. Tong Hua walked over and saw a 4-meter-long plump gunmetal gold shark floating on the sea surface, carrying a glittering golden treasure chest on its back. As she expected, she had claimed first place. A faint smile tugged at Tong Hua's lips. The fat shark spotted her, stared for several seconds as if verifying her identity, then heaved the treasure chest onto the ship's deck. Eyes lighting up, Tong Hua pulled a slice of delicious raw fish from her 100 treasures pouch as thanks for the messenger shark. At the scent of the fish, the shark, which had planned to leave immediately after finishing its task, froze where it floated. Tong Hua tossed the fish slice out. The shark leaped up to catch it, then spun happily in place, clearly delighted. Tong Hua smiled. She did not offer more food, instead lifting the treasure chest and carrying it back to the lounge. Seeing the human vanish, the shark plunged back into the water and slowly swam away. It had only wanted to finish its errand and rush off when it arrived, yet it left with a twinge of reluctance. Tasty fish was one of the hardest delicacies to hunt deep under the sea. It was absolutely mouth-watering. It silently resolved to volunteer for this human's delivery mission next time. Tong Hua set the treasure chest on the floor. She headed to the trade district and spent 800 planks to purchase 6 hemostatic bandages. After using 2 bandages, her HP fully restored, and her wounds faded without a trace. Tong Hua let out a relieved breath, finally in the mood to admire the opulent golden chest. She lit a tinder stick and took several photos of it. Then she gripped the edge of the lid with one hand and pushed it upward. Brilliant golden light burst forth. Her eyes. Tong Hua had to cover her face. When the glow dimmed, she peeked through her fingers. A shimmering multicolored rough stone roughly the size of a fingernail, a single gold-rimmed monocle, and a thick pale green sheet of unknown material hovered inside the chest wrapped in a bubble-like barrier. Tong Hua reached her hand through the bubble and grasped the items firmly. She used an identification card on the monocle. I have insight. When worn, it can identify information on any item or creature and display creature favorability ratings. Tong Hua put on the Eye of Insight. The monocle fit securely on the bridge of her nose, far steadier than she anticipated. The world before her eyes instantly changed. Restoration Stone. Can repair any item. Healing Skill. Floral Rhythm LV.1. 0 out of 100. Not a single petal is useless. Summon level ×1 petals. Upon touching any part of a body, each petal restores Constitution ×10 HP. Cooldown. 10 seconds. Tear the sheet to activate. Basic Workbench Upgrade Blueprint 1/20th Simple Single Bed. Resting here restores 2 energy points per hour. Shark Pillow. If gifted to sharks, they may be overjoyed. Constant Temperature Quilt. Too hot or too cold. This quilt maintains a comfortable temperature inside your bed. Lines of descriptive text appeared in her field of vision. A surge of joy welled up in Tong Hua. She had obtained a healing skill. She immediately tore the skill sheet. A sudden understanding washed over her. Floral Rhythm. A single white petal drifted toward her arm and dissolved into specks of light upon contact. The effect resembled using a hemostatic bandage. Her chances of survival had increased drastically. Tong Hua shifted her gaze to the final item, the Restoration Stone. She did own an item badly in need of repair, a dominant tier artifact that sounded extraordinary. She took the hexagonal ruby pendant hanging around her neck and placed the Restoration Stone against it. The aged pendant visibly renewed itself, emanating soft, breathtaking radiance. Cecilia's Pendant, a pendant crafted by the dominant Cecilia. Luck +5. Tong Hua's eyes widened. Anyone who had played games knew whether a character would be lucky or unlucky was mostly determined at creation. This artifact was practically overpowered. She would be a lucky player from now on. She thought of Ji Chuan, with his 13 luck stat, and the silver treasure chest he had effortlessly obtained at the start. She carefully fastened the pendant back around her neck, filled with anticipation for what lay ahead. Judging by its name, the Mermaid Palace secret realm was underwater. The exploration period lasted 3 days, requiring 144 airling pods. Each airling cost 10 basic resources, amounting to 1,440 resources in total, far too costly. Tong Hua set her sights on another item, the Bionic Gills, priced at 800 basic resources. Bionic Gills allows underwater breathing for 8 hours after activation. 1 hour cooldown. Tong Hua bought 20 airling pods plus the Bionic Gills, planning to alternate between them. What else would she need? She pondered. Warm clothing, of course. She had no idea what the temperature was like inside the mermaid palace, and she refused to risk hypothermia within the secret realm. In the trade district, Tonghua assembled an odd set of thermal gear, an insulated vest on top and thermal long johns below. Once she put them on, she instantly felt warmer. Insulated vest, warmth plus 5 thermal long johns, warmth plus 3. She pulled on her ice robe over everything. No one could tell what layers she wore underneath. Tonghua ate a filling meal. Feeling fully prepared, she walked out of the lounge. The Eye of Insight automatically identified everything she saw. Teleportation array, Mermaid Palace Secret Realm Wanderer, amorphous entity, level 50, HP, 500,000, favorability. 76 White Cat Society Aquarium, holds the amorphous entity. Automatically provides suitable food every 24 hours. Cold sweat nearly broke out on Tonghua's forehead. The dark blob-like tentacle monster possessed such a high level. No wonder her attacks barely scratched it. Holds it? Did that mean the monster would be living permanently on her ship? She wondered if she could just throw the aquarium overboard. Tonghua forced all these chaotic thoughts aside. She stepped onto the teleportation array. Commencing teleportation to Mermaid Palace. 10, 9, 8. A wave of dizziness swept over Tonghua. When her vision shifted, the scenery jolted her fully awake. Beneath vast, clear seawater, palaces of varying sizes stood silently upon underwater hills, stretching as far as the eye could see. Constructed from translucent powder blue crystal and studded with countless gemstones, they shimmered brilliantly. Mermaids really existed. Tonghua watched them swimming between buildings, every single one possessing exquisite features without exception. Everyone admired beautiful sights, and Tonghua's eyes darted everywhere, drinking in the view. Naturally, she was not the only curious soul. The others reacted similarly. Dense crowds surrounded her. Every person was encased inside a bubble, temporarily unable to move freely. After roughly half an hour of waiting, Administrator 990 SIX's voice echoed out. Teleportation channel closed. Mermaid Palace official quest begins. Resolve the crisis plaguing the mermaid race. Event duration: 3 days. If you sustain fatal damage within the secret realm, your HP will lock at one point, and you will be forcibly ejected. You may exit voluntarily by calling out "Leave Secret Realm." No matter the cause of ejection, you will receive 0 rewards, and any items collected inside cannot be taken out. Many people had clung to faint hope despite knowing this was an underwater secret realm. Now despair washed over them. If they had known earlier, they would have scrapped together every resource to buy underwater breathing supplies to explore the palaces. Those lavish buildings looked priceless. Prying loose even a single crystal would make them rich. They ignored the rule that leaving meant forfeiting all rewards, lost in fantasies of striking fortune. Over 90% of participants were forced out of the secret realm. They lacked underwater breathing gear or their supplies could not last 3 full days. Tonghua silently thanked herself for planning ahead. Even after more than 90% vanished, a sizable crowd remained. Strangely, despite so many humans appearing near the palace, the mermaids seemed unaware of their presence, continuing to swim about leisurely. Tonghua soon understood why. 2 ranking boards available: team rankings scored by points, individual rankings scored by contribution. Movement restrictions lifted. Random team assignment in progress. Your teammates have been matched. 1. Zhuang Ruhua 2. Eat Fish But Spit Bones 3. Zhang Zhizhong 4. Yunyan 5. Tonghua. Only the timer and team chat channel were accessible on the virtual panel. All other functions were locked. The team chat remained empty, no one speaking yet. The movement-restricting bubbles faded away. The mermaids in the distance finally spotted the humans and sent several envoys to lead them. Tonghua suspected the bubbles had a concealment effect hiding their presence. Green markers appeared above the heads of her 4 teammates, and clearly the others noticed as well. Everyone began moving toward one another to gather. The 5 assembled, silence hanging between them. Thanks to the Eye of Insight, Tonghua could see each person's name and favorability rating, all set to 0 for now. Zhuang Ruhua was a beautiful woman with wavy long hair and bright eyes, wearing a long red dress and holding a wooden short staff. A pale pink bubble wrapped around her head, her underwater breathing equipment. Eat Fish But Spit Bones was fully dressed in black, cradling a longsword. His high collar covered half his face, yet his striking good looks still showed through. That longsword had excellent stats. Noticing Tonghua's gaze, Eat Fish But Spit Bones looked straight back at her. When their eyes met and he caught her curious stare, he faintly raised an eyebrow. Tong Hua looked away. Zheng Zhizhong wore a white button-up shirt and black trousers, with a pufferfish-shaped diving helmet covering his face, hiding his features. Yun Yan kept his mouth pressed shut, long bangs covering half his face. He also had a pale pink breathing bubble above his head and wore a school uniform. He appeared to be a student. While Tong Hua observed the others, they sized her up too. It was not only her appearance that drew attention, but her eye-catching mage robe. She looked as though she had turned up in formal evening wear for casual sightseeing. Eat Fish but Spitbones spoke first. Let's share our names. After everyone exchanged names, silence fell once again. Why was everyone so quiet? Tong Hua suggested, once we enter, we can split up to explore. Share any clues in the team chat. We're on the same team. We rise and fall together. I hope no one keeps discoveries to themselves. The others thought briefly and agreed. Tong Hua's group followed the mermaid guides toward the main palace gate. The closer they swam, the more spectacular the architecture became. Gemstones were embedded lavishly into walls and rock faces. Palace guards stood at the entrance wielding golden spears, clad in sleek, solid upper body armor. As Tong Hua drew near, she saw the labels floating above them. Mermaid Guard, level 30, HP, 30,000. Tong Hua thought back to the amorphous entity aboard her ship. She could not make sense of the stat difference. The level 50 amorphous entity held 500,000 HP, while level 30 mermaid guards only had 30,000. A crowd lined up at the entrance, filing into the palace in order. Tong Hua and her teammates joined the queue at the outer edge. Tong Hua glanced around curiously. It was truly a dreamlike kingdom. Suddenly, Tong Hua's gaze sharpened. A group of humans tried sneaking into the palace through a side passage. Patrolling mermaid guards caught them. Golden spears pierced the chests of all 5 people. Dark red blood drifted through the deep blue seawater. White light flashed around their bodies, and they vanished on the spot. The commotion sparked panic among onlookers. Everyone knew death here was not permanent, yet the brutal sight terrified many who witnessed it. Even more people chose to exit the secret realm. She gestured for her teammates to look. When they turned and saw the scene, their expressions darkened. All of them grew up in peaceful times. Over these past few days, most had only experienced the cruelty of the ocean and shortages of supplies. None had witnessed monsters killing people. Yun Yan left without a single word to his teammates and disappeared instantly. The remaining 3 did not withdraw, yet their faces remained grim. Tong Hua stood calmly in the queue. Seeing her composure, the others slowly regained their calm. In truth, they misunderstood her. Tong Hua was not fearless. Even if permanent death was impossible here, the sensation of dying and the accompanying pain felt completely real. She chose to stay for a simple reason. She wanted treasure chests. She wanted to grow stronger. Having opened a golden treasure chest herself, Tong Hua knew how powerful the rewards inside could be. She hoped to claim another golden chest. After encountering a powerful foreign entity like the amorphous entity, she understood clearly, without growing stronger, she would not be so lucky next time. She still had no proper solution for the formidable creature living on her ship. Tong Hua refused to return and wait helplessly for disaster. Perhaps even after gaining strength she would still be unable to deal with it, but she had to try. At last, it was Tong Hua's turn. A blue-skinned mermaid guard held an ancient mirror up to scan her, then handed her a green stone. Through the eye of insight, Tong Hua saw its information: Mermaid Palace Access Token. Mermaid Palace Access Token, required to enter and exit the Mermaid Palace. Tong Hua felt herself pass through a thin film. Once inside the main gate, the mermaids paid no mind to where each human wandered. Split up to explore. Use team chat to keep in touch. With those words, Eat Fish but Spitbones headed off in his own direction. Tong Hua did not rush deep into the palace. She wandered casually. Pink crystal, blue crystal, azure pivot jade, dark light shells, purple eastern pearls, and rubies littered walls and floors. Some were ordinary objects, others were rare crafting materials. Ruby, rare material, usable for forging and alchemy. Azure pivot jade, rare material, usable for upgrades. She had been searching for exactly this rare material to upgrade her vehicle. Tong Hua coveted it greatly, yet she was not reckless enough to pry gems from the walls under the mermaid's watchful eyes. That would be pure foolishness. But some people were indeed reckless. A fully covered man swung a hoe, chipping furiously at a building corner to break off embedded jewels. The instant the gemstone fell loose, a mermaid mage materialized not far away, as if it had been waiting all along. Mermaid mage, level 40, HP 40,000. The man turned to flee with his stolen treasure, only to see the mage staring straight at him. He stiffened in fright and awkwardly tried pushing the gem back into place, yet it would not stick. A beam of bright light shot from the mage's staff. The strike killed him instantly. After eliminating the intruder, the mermaid mage vanished. Tonghua shook her head. Foolhardy indeed. No quest prompts appeared, and the language barrier alone frustrated countless explorers. Like everyone else, Tonghua wandered aimlessly. She paused when she passed a jellyfish-shaped cottage. Shelves lined the inner walls, filled with books and miscellaneous goods. A mermaid with long purple hair woven full of pearls sorted items on the shelves. Tonghua's eyes locked onto an enormous book nearly 30 centimeters thick. The Eye of Insight displayed its name, Universal Compendium of All Races Languages. Universal Compendium of All Races Languages, Star Vault Era 384, 6th edition. Remaining uses, 0/10,000. The title alone told her she had to obtain this book. Making sure no one was paying attention nearby, Tonghua spoke softly, "Shopkeeper." The mermaid shopkeeper turned around, revealing an impeccably beautiful face. Mermaid, level 80, HP, 80,000. Tonghua silently marveled. Of all the mermaids she had seen, this one was the most stunning. Hearing her voice, the mermaid shopkeeper spun around. Noticing Tonghua's extraordinary attire, it assumed a wealthy customer had arrived. It grinned, revealing rows of sharp fangs, and chattered away in an incomprehensible tongue. Tonghua pointed toward the language compendium on the shelf. The mermaid immediately understood, carried the thick red book down, and continued speaking non-stop for almost a minute, hashtag at hashtag. Tonghua, she could not understand a single word. She had no way to signal the shopkeeper to stop. Continuing this conversation would attract too much attention. After weighing her options, Tonghua decided to leave for now. Seeing the human depart without a word, the mermaid shopkeeper thought its lengthy introduction had annoyed the customer. Disappointed, it carried the book back to its shelf. Tonghua swam around to check her surroundings. Seeing no one nearby, she headed back to the jellyfish hut. Upon noticing her return, the mermaid shopkeeper excitedly pointed at the Universal Races lexicon, then held up a Siren Chamber of Commerce gold card and waved it in front of her. The mermaid shook her head. This time, Tonghua understood. Siren currency held no value with the mermaids. Tonghua frowned. Both species possessed human torsos and fish tails, so why draw such a clear line between mermaids and sirens? Visually, they looked nearly identical. She pulled out food to offer in exchange, but that attempt failed without surprise. When it became clear Tonghua had nothing usable to trade, the mermaid's smile faded. She shot Tonghua a glance and uttered a string of unintelligible sounds before turning back to sorting her wares, ignoring her entirely. Tonghua suspected she had just been insulted, though she had no proof. To figure out how mermaids conducted trade, she simply lingered within sight of the jellyfish hut and watched. Soon enough, another mermaid arrived to purchase blazing sea blossoms, handing the shopkeeper a small white orb. Tonghua observed closely. These orbs were called coral glass orbs. Where could she obtain coral glass orbs? The mermaid race used their own exclusive currency. In a way, this worked to Tonghua's advantage. No other human intruders would have this currency either. She needed to find a way to earn coral glass orbs as soon as possible. Tonghua was about to leave the area to explore elsewhere when a short-haired woman in a plain white t-shirt swam over, looking flustered. "Hey, do you know where to find restrooms?" Tonghua edged backward to keep a safe distance. "Sorry, I don't know. I'm still searching too. This is bad, I need to find one fast. I saw a man relieve himself randomly earlier, and a mermaid pierced him right on the spot. I can't waste time talking, I'm off." The woman hurried away as she spoke. Tonghua's heart skipped a beat. Execution for public excretion? She quickly sent this warning to her party chat. 3 question marks popped up in response. Tonghua thought for a moment and added another reminder, do not steal anything in this territory. The other 3 took her lead and shared information they had gathered. Fish Eater. Avoid provoking conflicts with mermaids. Both sides will be eliminated if fights break out. Zhuang Ruhua. I saw a troop of wounded mermaids coming from the West District. Zhang Jizhang. Swim straight right from the main entrance all the way to the end. There is a large trading market. Tong Hua mulled over the messages and resolved to head for the trading market first, hoping she could exchange goods for coral glass orbs. She followed the direction Zhang Zhizhang described and soon caught sight of a bustling market in the distance. Stalls overflowed with all kinds of goods, mostly food. Tong Hua's eyes lit up, filled with unfamiliar items. Her gaze locked onto steaming crab seafood laid out at one stall. Cloudveil crab, special ingredient. Eating an entire cooked crab for the first time grants +2 constitution. 8 crabs were available. Tong Hua wanted them desperately, yet she could not afford them. She forced herself to tear her eyes away from the crabs, only to be drawn to a plump 3-meter fish at the neighboring stall. Golden sunrise longfish, special ingredient. Eating an entire cooked fish for the first time grants +3 strength. Tong Hua swallowed hard. That fish looked incredibly tasty. She found 2 more varieties of shellfish that each gave +2 strength. After wandering the whole market, she spotted an empty stall table at the very back. 2 mermaids were trading goods for coral glass orbs. Had her 14 luck stat kicked in? Tong Hua's heart raced with excitement. She calmed herself and quietly lined up behind them. What does this stall sell? A confused voice came from beside her. Tong Hua glanced sideways. The newcomer wore a black windbreaker, hair tied in a high ponytail. Her eyes were sharp, the lower half of her face covered by a mask, and 3 daggers hung at her waist. This woman looked dangerous. Tong Hua wanted to avoid trouble. Besides, anyone watching long enough would figure out the market used coral glass orbs for trade. It was hardly a secret. She moved a little further away and replied concisely. Currency exchange. Noticing Tong Hua wished to keep her distance, the woman nodded. Thanks. I'll trade you information for free. At 8 tonight, a ceremony will be held at the Mermaid Central Square. She said no more and waited beside the queue. Tong Hua was surprised. She glanced up to see the woman's player name, Slay All Foes. She could not confirm whether the information was true, but she appreciated the straightforward one-for-one exchange of intelligence. The 2 mermaids at the front finished exchanging their goods and left. Tong Hua stepped forward and placed her food on the table. The stall owner was a gray-skinned mermaid with a black tail, a stern face, and a scar cutting from her brow bone across her cheekbone. Unlike most mermaids with long curling hair, she kept a buzz cut. She pulled out a sheet of parchment inscribed with unfamiliar script and spoke a string of incomprehensible words to Tong Hua. A sheet inscribed with mermaid script. Her insight vision could not decipher the mermaid writing. Tong Hua inwardly groaned. Was this the agony of being unable to read the local language? She had watched the previous mermaids exchange food for coral glass orbs, so why was her offer rejected? Confused, she kept laying out more of her food supplies. The stall owner watched silently without interruption. After Tong Hua placed 500 slices of raw fish before her, the mermaid handed her 10 coral glass orbs. Tong Hua was unsure whether 10 orbs were enough to buy the Universal Races lexicon, yet her food reserves were dwindling. She dared not spend all her supplies. She accepted the orbs and turned to leave. She failed to notice the stunned look on the high ponytail woman's face behind her. That player carried so much food? Did you need that many provisions just to exchange for mermaid currency? Tong Hua hurried back to the jellyfish hut and called for the shopkeeper. Once more, she pointed at the Universal Races lexicon and stretched out her palm holding 10 smooth, rounded coral glass orbs. The shopkeeper paused to consider, then shook her head. Tong Hua's heart sank. Would she still be unable to make the trade? If food could be exchanged for currency, trading food directly for goods should follow the same logic. Perhaps she had not offered enough food earlier. She laid 4 portions of savory chica fish fillets and 100 slices of savory raw fish onto the counter. The jellyfish hut shopkeeper finally collected Tong Hua's offerings and slowly retrieved the book Tong Hua had longed for from the shelf. Tong Hua's eyes widened. She quickly stowed the lexicon into her pouch of treasures, but several onlookers had already seen her acquire the item. Hey, what did you just get? A gruff voice boomed from behind her. Tong Hua spun around cautiously to face a portly middle-aged man. She kept her expression calm. Head to that building opposite. See the mermaid guard by the entrance? Give him a portion of food, and he will pass your offer to the shopkeeper. That's how you obtain goods here. Hand whatever you got over to me instead. It'll be far simpler, the man demanded. I refuse, Tong Hua replied. If we start fighting, both of us will be killed by the mermaids. Go ahead and test it if you want. I don't particularly care if neither of us completes our quests. The man hesitated to test her threat, but he issued a warning. Then come with me. Don't try any tricks. Fine, let's go. Tong Hua took the lead and swam forward. Her ready compliance made the man's suspicions ease slightly. He followed her to the mermaid guard. "Hurry and hand over the food," Tong Hua urged. "I don't have any food. You give it to him." Tong Hua was exasperated. "You only admit you have nothing now that we're here. I already traded earlier. The guard won't accept offerings on your behalf." The man gritted his teeth and pulled half a leftover slice of bread from his pocket to hand to the mermaid sentry. Seizing the chance, Tong Hua stepped backward and swam away as fast as she could. A loud shout from the mermaid guard echoed behind her, filled with anger. "Hey, you conniving woman. Stop right there." Tong Hua ignored him, her figure growing more distant. The man roared furiously. "I said stop." She would never stop. Tong Hua memorized his player name, Mei Limao. She would remember him. If open combat were permitted in this territory, she would not let him off easily. Mei Limao's shouts drew every nearby eye. Offering half-eaten bread to the guard was viewed as an insult. The mermaid sentry struck him twice hard across the face, leaving heavy welts. Mei Limao dared not retaliate, only glaring venomously at Tong Hua's retreating form. Tong Hua was familiar with the surrounding waters, allowing her to slip away without difficulty. She had worked so hard to obtain the lexicon, she would not risk being expelled from the realm over a pointless confrontation. "Hua." A familiar voice drifted over. Tong Hua froze mid-swim. "You're here too." Joy lit up Tong Hua's face at the sight of Ji Chuan. She had guessed he might join the activity, but she had still been groggy after waking from her injury and forgotten to ask. "Yes. I tried to contact you, but you never replied." Tong Hua detected a faint note of grievance in his tone. Communication outside party channels was impossible within the secret realm, which explained why they had not managed to reach each other. Ji Chuan studied Tong Hua carefully, noticing her pale lips. He hesitated to ask if she had run into trouble. What good would questioning do? He might not be able to help. If she wanted to talk about it, she would bring it up herself. Seeing Ji Chuan clad in fiery red battle robes wielding a silver honor scepter, he looked impressively powerful. Tong Hua invited him. "Let's head for the West District. Word says there's an ongoing battle there." Traveling with an acquaintance felt far safer than venturing alone. Ji Chuan paused. "I just came back from there. Fighting is indeed taking place." "Really?" Tong Hua looked confused. "Why return then?" "The battle is going badly. I came back to rally more people," Ji Chuan explained. With an ally beside her, Tong Hua grew bolder. "Let's head there first. We can alert everyone in the party chat. This might affect the overall rankings." Ji Chuan nodded. "Let's go." The two swam toward the combat zone, and they noticed crowds of other players heading in the same direction. "Thank you for the robe you gave me. It's incredibly practical," Tong Hua said. The garment never stained even after days of wear, staying fresh and odorless. Best of all, its ability to block detection had saved her from countless troubles. If others learned the seemingly defenseless young woman was the top-ranked player with massive stockpiles of supplies, greed would surely drive them to attack her. Ji Chuan smiled gently. "I prepared it for you long ago. I ought to thank you. Without you, I would not have started this game ahead of schedule." Tong Hua laughed. "No more thanks. We're even, all right." "We are far from even," Ji Chuan thought silently. They halted in a concealed spot and watched the clashing battle in the distance. The mermaid mages in the rear lines were running low on energy, forcing armored mermaid warriors on the front line to bear the brunt of the fighting. Their opponents were lobster claws, 2-meter-tall creatures resembling giant crayfish covered in thick natural armor with exceptional defense. Lobster claw, level 35, HP 35,000, shield 300. Whenever a mermaid neared collapse, commanders ordered them to retreat rather than fight to the death. As a result, fewer and fewer mermaids remained on the battlefield, yet they appeared accustomed to this strategy, prioritizing survival above all else. Tong Hua frowned. If they refuse to fight to the last, what happens if the enemy breaks through? Will they abandon the rest of the mermaid clan? Ji Chuan could not predict the consequences. "Our quest is to ease the mermaid crisis. This battle is likely the crisis in question." Tong Hua understood the gravity of the situation. Many human players had already joined the fight, yet their efforts barely shifted the tide. She noticed the leaderboards updating. Top-ranked teams were embroiled in fierce combat within the war zone. "Let's join the fight," Tong Hua said. She channeled energy and unleashed wind slash toward the charging lobster claw in front of her. The lobster claw barely registered the blow, as if it had only been tickled. Tong Hua did not lose heart. Both she and Ji Chuan relied on ranged attacks. She guided him to a hidden position further back to safely accumulate experience. Then Jichuan's scepter burst with brilliant white light, immediately revealing their location. Tong Hua stared blankly. What? Jichuan fell silent. I forgot. Within seconds, a 3-meter-tall mermaid commander appeared beside them. He grabbed both of them by the collars like picking up chicks and positioned them among the rear mermaid mages. Scattered other human players with ranged abilities stood alongside them. Tong Hua and Jichuan, we've been drafted as support. Now that their position was exposed, Tong Hua had no choice but to fight with full effort. A blessing cast by the mermaid mages washed over her, instantly restoring her mental power and doubling her attack damage, though that only brought her damage up to 24 points. Even with 2 extra fighters, the mermaids remained at a disadvantage. The mermaid warrior directly before Tong Hua's HP dropped to critical levels, and a replacement soldier swam forward to take his place. Tong Hua lifted her hand and channeled healing into the injured warrior. Her spell only restored 30 HP. Against a maximum HP pool of 35,000, the effect was barely better than a simple wound bandage. Wait a minute, why did the mermaids not use healing items themselves? The 2 mermaids who witnessed her heal their comrade turned to stare at her in shock. Tong Hua paused. Was something wrong? Before she could process their reaction, the mermaid commander swam over and spoke a string of unfamiliar words. Tong Hua tore a page from the Universal Races Lexicon. It dissolved into starlight that merged into her body, and the commander's words suddenly became perfectly understandable. Please help us, the mermaid clan cannot hold on much longer. How can I help? Tong Hua asked, surprised to hear herself respond in fluent mermaid tongue. Honored one, would you come with me to the wounded barracks? Tong Hua thought it over and agreed. Very well, lead the way. She bid Jichuan farewell, and the commander hurried to guide her. Impatient with her swimming speed, he seized her wrist and surged forward rapidly. Powerful currents blurred Tong Hua's vision, but they arrived at their destination soon afterward. Crystal shell beds filled the area, holding gravely injured mermaids, many missing limbs or tails, moaning in agony. A heavy air of grief hung everywhere, and Tong Hua fell quiet. The mermaids were not her kind, yet witnessing such brutal suffering weighed heavily on her heart. She knew why she had been brought here. Tong Hua cast Floral Grace at the mermaid with the lowest HP nearby. Soft petals carrying soothing energy drifted down and settled over the warrior's wounded arm. The injured mermaid's eyes widened slowly in disbelief. Healing magic actually worked on mermaids. Overcome with emotion, tears streamed from the mermaid's eyes, hardening into 2 tear pearls as they fell. The mermaid commander struggled to contain his shock. He fought to remain composed, yet his clenched fists and agitated tail betrayed his excitement. He dared not interrupt Tong Hua. She turned toward him. Can you arrange mages to replenish my mental power? Constantly casting healing spells drains a great deal of energy. It will be done at once, honored one. The commander summoned 2 mages from the battlefield to take turns sustaining her magic. He rushed back and forth between the front lines and the wounded barracks. With an endless supply of mental energy, Tong Hua maxed out Floral Grace's proficiency in mere minutes. Floral Grace, Level 2, 0/1000. No petal is useless. Summon level times 2 petals to make contact with a target. Healing value equals number of petals times constitution times 10. Cooldown, 9 seconds. Her constitution stat stood at 3, so level 2 Floral Grace healed for 120 points, 4 times more powerful than at level 1. Originally, Tong Hua planned to stabilize critically wounded mermaids first before healing them fully. War was cruel, however. Many recovered warriors were ordered back into battle long before their injuries healed completely. When she saw them again, they were once more badly hurt. With a 9-second cooldown between casts, she could cast the skill 1,000 times in roughly 2.5 hours. Still, time dragged on endlessly for Tong Hua. She watched wave after wave of wounded arrive, and partially healed mermaids depart to rejoin combat. She silently tended to the injured, nodding absently when mermaids thanked her. Floral Grace, Level 3, 0/10,000. No petal is useless. Summon level times 3 petals to make contact with a target. Healing value equals number of petals times constitution times 20. Cooldown, 8 seconds. Her healing power rose to 540 per cast. Tong Hua never imagined her skill would level up so rapidly. At her current rate, she could fully heal a wounded mermaid in 8 minutes. She mentally calculated, if she raised her constitution stat, her healing output would reach terrifying heights. Her magic could not revive the dead, yet it could mend grievous wounds. This healing skill was overwhelmingly powerful. She worked non-stop for 14 hours without rest, repeatedly casting her spell. It was nearly 7 o'clock in the evening when the lobster claws retreated. All surviving mermaids returned to the encampment. Every mermaid she had treated held a favorability rating above 80 toward her. Floral Grace sat at 5,010 proficiency at level 3. Tong Hua was about to finish healing the last batch of wounded warriors when the mermaid commander stopped her. Thank you for everything you have done. My name is Matua. Would you be interested in attending the Mermaid Clan's centennial ceremony at 8 tonight? Tong Hua desperately wanted rest. She was utterly exhausted, having barely slept properly for days. Yet a centennial ceremony was almost certainly tied to the main quest. She could not afford to miss it. You are welcome, Matua. I also benefited greatly from raising my skill levels while helping, Tong Hua said. What happens during the centennial ceremony? We will perform the ritual to unseal the Eye of the Abyss. What exactly is the Eye of the Abyss? The name sounded ominous. The Eye of the Abyss is a special zone opened exclusively by the merfolk for visitors. It bears 10 layers of seals, and rewards await those who break each layer. What's inside it? Is it dangerous? To speak plainly, my lord, 9 out of 10 who enter will perish, Mo2a replied truthfully. Silence fell. Only teams may enter the Eye of the Abyss. Batches of visitors like you appear once every 100 years. Every seal you unlock brings a reward, Mo2a explained methodically. What sort of rewards? Tong Hua grew faintly interested. She was fond of rewards. I do not know, my lord. Mo2a told no lie. No party had ever cleared even the first layer to this day. Tong Hua nodded, then asked out of curiosity. Why don't you use healing items? She had wondered this for a long time. Healing potions and artifacts were costly, yet not a single one had been used. Merfolk were on the brink of death, yet none resorted to them. Because no healing item works on us. Mo2a's gaze turned hollow as if recalling something distant. Why? I'm sorry, my lord. I cannot reveal the exact reason. Very well. Tong Hua chose not to press the matter. She glanced at the remaining wounded merfolk. Are you certain you won't tend to their injuries further? We are, my lord. The king has issued an order. No merfolk may delay any visitor from taking part in tonight's ritual. A squad of merfolk guards escorted Tong Hua to the central plaza. Few figures lingered here. Tong Hua suspected the language barrier meant little news had spread. The merfolk palace blazed with light even after dark. She opened her team chat, which was flooded with messages. Fish eats fish bones. Tong Hua, where did the merfolk take you? Zhuang Ruhua, good heavens, how did your contribution score skyrocket like this? Zheng Zhizhang, truly worthy of ranking first. Zhuang Ruhua, what happened? Did the merfolk drag Tong Hua away? Zheng Zhizhang, we've hit the jackpot. No need to grind hard now. Confused, Tong Hua noticed a real-time ranking board had appeared beside the team chat at some point. Team rankings: 1. Zhuang Ruhua, Fish Eats Fish Bones, Zheng Zhizhang, Tong Hua. Total score 11,622. Ji Chuan, Lone Sailor at Sea, Craving Cola, Sweet Dreams, Xiong Zhuang. Total score 278.3. Shang Wu, Handsome Guy, Drunken Butterfly, Slayer of Gods, Lilo and Rest. Total score 256. Individual rankings: 1. Tong Hua, contribution value 11,422. Shang Wu, 129.3. Ji Chuan, 98.4. Lone Sailor at Sea, 95. Slayer of Gods, 80. Her name sat proudly at the top of both leaderboards. This felt amazing. The corners of Tong Hua's mouth lifted. She pumped one fist toward the sky, then the other. What are you doing? Ji Chuan had been watching her for quite some time. Tong Hua froze. She casually tried to slip her hands into her pockets, only to remember her mage robe had no pockets. Her ears flushed red. She turned her head away. Swatting mosquitoes. I see, you have my sympathy. Mosquitoes are quite rampant here. Ji Chuan fought back laughter, charmed by her awkwardness. Take this. Tong Hua quickly changed the subject and handed Ji Chuan a page of all race tongues. Ji Chuan accepted it. Having watched Tong Hua use one before, he tore it apart without hesitation. Gather. Boom, boom, boom. The giant bell at the plaza center tolled. Its sound rippled through seawater, spreading in every direction. Ji Chuan raised an eyebrow. I can understand the merfolk now. This is the page of all race tongues. Ji Chuan looked surprised. Does it let me understand tens of thousands of races? You can understand them and speak their tongues. Try forming thoughts in the merfolk language. You're incredible, Hua. Jichuan praised her sincerely, resolving to push himself harder. Tonghua beamed at him, unashamed to claim credit for her achievements. Countless merfolk lined up in orderly formation around the bell at Central Plaza. Waters of the deep, wash away millennia of resentment. Power of the tides, break the chains of bondage. By the merfolk's blood and luminescent scales as offering, let curses fade, let flesh and soul be made whole. When the bell falls, the rite begins. Rumble. The giant bell ascended, lifting an enormous conch shell from beneath its base. Thick, stagnant black mist swirled at the shell's opening, stirring unease in all who saw it. Eye of the Abyss, a divine artifact left behind by Han Jin, the deity of shadows. It holds 10 unique spatial layers. Defeat the monsters within to earn generous rewards. Entry requirement: teams of no fewer than 3 members. Tonghua recalled Mo2O's warning that 9 out of 10 entrants would perish. Her score towered far above every other team, more than enough already. The rules never forced visitors to enter the Eye of the Abyss. She had no wish to risk further danger. She planned to relax and explore the Merfolk Palace until the secret realm closed, treating it like a vacation. She warned Jichuan. It could be extremely dangerous. I'm not going in for now. Jichuan nodded. Tonghua then typed a message to her team chat. Tonghua, did everyone hear the bell? The Eye of the Abyss has appeared at Central Plaza tonight, a team dungeon. I learned from the merfolk that this dungeon threatens life. Our scores are sufficient to secure at minimum 1 golden chest. I suggest we hold off entering and observe for a while. Zheng Zhizhang agreed. Zhuang Ruhua, we follow the boss's lead. Fish eats fish bones, all right. Tonghua carried the entire team. Her strength spoke for itself, and the other 3 raised no objections. The moment she sent the message, Tonghua looked up and found herself standing inside a grand palace. Its walls were built from massive pink crystal slabs. The intricately carved dome centered on a colossal orb resembling a dragon pearl, casting warm radiance that illuminated the entire hall. Even the supporting pillars were crafted from the rare material eternal warm jade. Tonghua marveled at such extravagance. Through the windows carved along the sides, she overlooked the full expanse of the Merfolk Palace. She soon realized she stood within the uppermost main hall. A merfolk sat upon the supreme jade throne at the hall's center. When Tonghua laid eyes on her, she was utterly stunned. Blue hair cascaded like a waterfall, pinned with a trinket shaped like a sea god's blossom. Her features were ethereal beyond description. Tonghua could find no words to capture her beauty. Tonghua's gaze drifted greedily across the artifact in her hand, her ceremonial robes, and the ornament atop her head. Every piece made her covetous. Merfolk Queen Liner, level 300, HP 30 million, good heavens. This must be the event boss. 2/3 of her health bar was grayed out for some unknown reason, yet that did nothing to change the fact that she was the strongest foreign race Tonghua had ever encountered. Thanks to Tonghua saving her subjects, her initial favorability toward Tonghua stood at 30 points. The Merfolk Queen wore a gentle expression. We meet for the first time, human. I am Liner. What is your name? Tonghua snapped back to her senses. Opting to speak as little as possible to avoid mistakes, she replied, I am Tonghua. Could her frost mage robe's concealment effect be so powerful that even the Merfolk Queen could not see through her? Queen Liner nodded softly. Tonghua, would you demonstrate your healing power? Tonghua nodded. She stretched out a finger. Petals drifted slowly downward and vanished upon touching the ground. Liner sensed the pure, untainted energy within it, healing power untouched by any curse. Witnessing it firsthand, disbelief washed over her. She teleported directly before Tonghua. Tonghua stood 168 centimeters tall. At a distance, the size difference was unnoticeable, but up close, she realized Liner stood 2.5 times her height, radiating overwhelming pressure. Tonghua startled and nearly stepped back, yet she understood fleeing would mean nothing against an opponent of this caliber. She forced herself to stand firm. Liner noticed she had drawn too near and frightened the human. She retreated 2 meters. My apologies for startling you. I grew overexcited. Liner steadied her breath. It has been countless years since anyone wielded magic capable of healing merfolk. Will you aid us? You may name any price. How would I help? Using my healing magic? That sounded straightforward, and she would stand to gain from it. Liner shook her head. Help the merfolk clear the Eye of the Abyss. Does healing magic alone grant passage through the Eye of the Abyss? Tonghua asked. Have there not been other races wielding such magic in past cycles? Of course there have, Liner answered. 1,300 years ago, the merfolk themselves commanded healing magic. She let the statement hang, then continued. Han Jin, the deity of shadows, was the previous merfolk queen. She is my elder sister. She sacrificed the entire merfolk race. Tonghua stared in shock. Liner's voice turned heavy. The Eye of the Abyss was the instrument meant to elevate Han Jin to godhood. The price was the merfolk's future. I ask you to break the chains binding my people by clearing the Eye of the Abyss. Tonghua, wait, you want me to clear the Eye of the Abyss and oppose a god? Are you joking? My life is far too comfortable to throw away like this. Naturally not. Liner looked at Tonghua with faint amusement. Having ascended to divinity, Han Jin abandoned the merfolk long ago. The Eye of the Abyss no longer belongs to her. Tonghua remained skeptical. Her insight eye identified it as a divine artifact left by Han Jin. How could the two be unrelated? If the deity of shadows returned, whoever conquered the Eye of the Abyss would become her target. Liner read the doubt on her face. Once cleared, the artifact will fully belong to whoever conquers it. So what? Could whoever possessed it stand against a god? Tonghua's expression made it clear she was unwilling no matter what promises were made. Lina sighed. What I mean is this. Han Jin will never come to reclaim it. Once activated, the Eye of the Abyss forges a binding contract with its wielder. It is both divine artifact and demonic vessel. Han Jin used the Eye of the Abyss to curse the merfolk, draining our destiny and future. In exchange, she became bound to it, forced to feed it vast amounts of corresponding energy. Han Jin no longer needs the merfolk, so she no longer sustains the Eye. Yet the curse it laid upon us lingers and worsens. Han Jin still owes the Eye massive amounts of energy. It would welcome a new master to replace her. She will never seek vengeance against whoever conquers it. The only true obstacle is that the number of monsters within far exceeds what you can imagine. I swear by the title of Merfolk Queen. If you remain unconvinced, we may sign a binding oath. Any lie spoken will invoke a bitter curse. Tonghua was largely persuaded, yet questions lingered. If the monster hordes were beyond imagination, how could Liner be certain Tonghua could succeed only because she possessed healing magic? Tonghua was not being overly modest. Her offensive power was frankly unimpressive. She voiced her concern. Lina sighed. Truthfully, I cannot guarantee you will succeed. But over these 13 centuries, only teams with healing magic have ever held a chance of breaking through. The mages from previous parties lacked the power to mend the wounds inflicted upon merfolk. Liner withheld one truth. No team had ever passed even the first layer. Every party that nearly succeeded had possessed a healer. She sought Tonghua because she was the sole visitor in this batch with healing magic, and she showed no intention of challenging the Eye of the Abyss. If this opportunity slipped away, the next event would not arrive for another 100 years. How many merfolk would remain by then? She had to convince Tonghua to try. Tonghua felt tempted, though one point still needed clarification. Our team has multiple members. How can we confirm the artifact will fall to me once we clear it? Relief washed over Liner, seeing Tonghua waver. Rest assured. As a divine artifact, the Eye of the Abyss will acknowledge the team member with the most powerful healing magic as its master. Then why cannot the merfolk clear it themselves? Tonghua voiced her deepest confusion. The merfolk queen was clearly immensely powerful. If even she could not succeed, what hope did Tonghua have? The merfolk are the targets of the Eye of the Abyss's curse. We cannot set foot inside. A shadow crossed Liner's features. She did not mention the 2/3 of her sealed HP, a wound sustained when she once attempted to force her way into the Eye and suffered brutal backlash. Tonghua had no further questions, a spark of excitement igniting within her. A divine artifact. Han Jin had used it to ascend to godhood. Well aware of the mortal peril inside, Tonghua cleared her throat. Honored Queen, do you possess any powerful artifacts to aid my attempt? She secretly hoped she might borrow the staff in Liner's grasp. With it, she could stand against thousands alone. She dared not say the thought aloud, yet Liner caught her eyes drifting toward the staff. A soft laugh escaped her. You cannot wield this weapon. Only crowned merfolk queens may unlock its power. Afraid Tonghua would disbelieve her, she held the staff out. Tonghua accepted it and tried channeling power. Nothing happened. She smiled awkwardly. I see. Heh. Liner shook her head. I would not withhold it from you. yet it would merely gather dust in your hands. She paused. Every piece of merfolk equipment and weaponry can only be wielded by merfolk. Think of another request. In other words, no top-tier gear for her. Tong Hua grumbled silently to herself. She had already earned event rewards for saving the wounded merfolk, so she stood to lose nothing. But if she died inside, her golden chests would be lost. The thought made her frown in hesitation. Liner's heart skipped. What troubled her now? Was a divine artifact not tempting enough? What concerns you? Liner asked gently. If I die within, you will not truly perish. Liner stared at her, exasperated. Besides, you command healing magic. The issue is that all items I have obtained will be forfeit if I die. You know of the rankings for this event, do you not? I top both leaderboards right now. That guarantees at least 2 golden chests. Do you understand what that means? Liner's mouth twitched. A cunning human. She pressed 5 hairpins into Tong Hua's palm. These are life-saving charms. Each blocks 1 fatal blow. Share them with your companions. If you face an unavoidable lethal threat, you will have time to retreat from the Eye of the Abyss. This was excellent news, enough to persuade her teammates to venture inside. Her party numbered 4. The extra charm would stay with her. Having made up her mind, Tong Hua broke into a bright smile. Thank you, honored queen. As for my request, supply us with ample common provisions, special ingredients, and rare crafting materials. Liner stared at her in surprise. She had expected outrageous demands, never something so modest. She felt a twinge of guilt for her earlier suspicions about Tong Hua's motives. Tong Hua watched the favorability marker above the merfolk queen rise to 40. Liner fell into quiet reflection. 1,300 years had passed, and 13 cycles of visitors had come and gone. Ever since the curse befell her people, other races sought to exploit the merfolk for every possible gain. The healer from the previous cycle knew merfolk gear could not be used by outsiders and made an outrageous demand. She wanted the merfolk to become a subordinate race bound to serve them. Effectively, slavery. That foreign mage had nearly broken through the first layer. With one more attempt, she might have freed the merfolk from the first seal. Instead, her party colluded to blackmail Liner. Enraged, Liner slew them all. She would not drag her people from one torment straight into another. Before dying, the group issued threats, claiming their demands would grow far steeper if Liner begged for aid in the future. Liner had blacklisted their race ever since. She had witnessed countless greedy claimants, yet never anyone like Tong Hua. Liner's expression softened. She slipped the sapphire ring from her finger. Whether your words are sincere or calculated, I am moved by them. This ring can merge with your storage pouch. Do not leave precious artifacts hanging visibly at your waist, lest thieves target you. Ring of Fusion passively restores 1 stamina every 2 seconds. Can merge your existing storage space into itself. Tong Hua fell silent, warmth stirring in her chest. Liner might have misunderstood her intentions. They truly needed supplies, but she saw no reason to correct her. She would remember this kindness. The ring fused seamlessly with her treasure pouch, transforming into a treasure ring. A simple sapphire band settled snugly on her left index finger. Thank you, Your Majesty. Tong Hua smiled sweetly, and Liner smiled back. I shall send you back. Do your best, yet do not risk everything. The moment Liner finished speaking, Tong Hua reappeared on Central Plaza. No one noticed her sudden arrival. Tong Hua opened her team chat. Tong Hua, gather at Central Plaza. I've got something to show everyone. Zhuang Ruhua? Fish eats fish bones? Zheng Zhizhang, on my way. 10 minutes later, the team assembled. Tong Hua gestured for them to draw near, subtly revealing the edge of 3 life-saving charm hairpins and lowering her voice. Life-saving charms. Use your identification cards to check their properties. The 3 teammates' eyes widened. 1 for each of us. Let's venture into the Eye of the Abyss and see how far we can go. Are you in? Tong Hua urged them. Tong Hua was willing to share such vital treasures without hesitation, proving she was no selfish leader. The others naturally looked to her for guidance. All 3 nodded vigorously. We're in. The Eye of the Abyss could be entered repeatedly. If you retreated alive, you could re-enter after a 10-minute cooldown. During the hour Tong Hua spent in the Royal Hall, other teams had pushed their scores above 1,000. If this trend continued, her ranking would be overtaken by the time the secret realm closed in 3 days. The charms in her hand gave them all a vital safety buffer. No one was willing to turn down the opportunity. Tong Hua mused. She wondered if she was blessed with good luck. This time, she had been matched with reliable teammates. There were no troublesome players who refused to cooperate or threw the team into chaos. It was truly a relief. Before entering the instance, Tong Hua and her teammates exchanged information to learn each other's primary combat abilities. Let's each state our main skills, Tong Hua said. That way we can work out a battle plan. After a short pause, she went first. I'll start. My offensive skill is Wind Element Magic, dealing up to 12 damage. I also have a healing skill. Zhuang Ruhua spoke openly. I wield Tier 2 Fire Magic, but its power is halved underwater. It deals 18 damage in aquatic environments. Fish Eater Spine spoke next. Lightning Magic. I can paralyze 2 enemies for 0.2 seconds. He lifted the longsword in his hand. This blade is a melee weapon that deals 100 damage. Tong Hua could not help but glance at him. Truly, her teammates were formidable combatants. Zheng Zhizhong said, my only attacking tool is a slingshot, but I have no pellets for it. For defense, I own a coat that grants a shield with 20 hit points. Unarmed, I deal 4 damage per strike. Tong Hua nodded. No one knew what awaited them within the Eye of the Abyss, so they could only draft a simple strategy: prioritize protecting Tong Hua, their healer. The area surrounding the Eye of the Abyss was packed shoulder to shoulder. It took immense effort for the 4 of them to squeeze through the crowd. Following the example of those ahead, they all placed their hands upon the shell-like entrance. In an instant, their surroundings shifted. A vast cavern, 5 meters tall and 10 meters wide, stretched out before them. Night pearls embedded in the cave walls glowed softly to light the path. They walked to the far end and found the entrance, covered by a thin membrane. Tong Hua reached out and tore it open. A countdown immediately appeared before everyone's eyes. Entering the first layer of the Eye of the Abyss. Phase 1. Monster level equals all players level plus 10. Prepare yourselves. Countdown 10, 9, 8. All 4 were level 0, meaning the monsters on the first layer would be level 10. The countdown reached 0, and the scene transformed once more. They stood upon a massive circular platform roughly 20 meters in diameter. Thick mist swirled beyond its edges, and whenever the fog drifted away, an unfathomable void could be glimpsed far below. Sphere-shaped monsters loomed in and out of the mist. When they came partially into view, they resembled lumpy balls of raw, festering flesh, their uneven surfaces oozing dark red fluid. Abomination. Grease Sphere, level 10, HP 1000. The moment Tong Hua's group appeared, all the creatures stirred. They drifted closer, swelling their bodies as if preparing to detonate. Tong Hua swept her gaze across the field. There were 10 of them. Her heart sank at the sight of so many foes. Attack! Tong Hua shouted, unleashing her skill first. Call out if anyone takes damage. One grease sphere lashed out with a tongue that struck Zheng Zhizhong squarely in the abdomen. He let out a muffled groan, clutching his stomach. Blood drifted through the water, obscuring his view. Seawater stung the open wound, and the physical agony brought tears to his eyes. Yet he managed to stammer, Tong Hua. Before he could finish speaking, flower petals drifted toward him. The pain vanished instantly. Zheng Zhizhong touched his torso and found the injury completely healed. He had not expected Tong Hua's healing ability to be so effective. Reassured, he focused fully on the fight. Zhuang Ruhua followed up on Zheng Zhizhong's strikes, delivering constant follow-up damage. The pair fought side by side, though they struggled, relying on constant repositioning to land hits. Tong Hua and Fish Eater Spine focused on restraining one grease sphere. Whenever a monster drew near, Fish Eater Spine unleashed lightning to paralyze it, and they exchanged blows evenly. Boom! Tong Hua jumped at the deafening explosion and spun around. What she saw sent a chill through her entire body. Scraps of the grease sphere and fragments of a human body drifted through the water. The entire right half of Zhuang Ruhua's body had been torn apart, nearly swallowed by a cloud of blood. Her health had plummeted to a mere 3 HP. A look of confusion lingered on her face, as if she could not comprehend what had just happened. Cold dread washed over Tong Hua. Instinctively, she cast her healing spell on Zhuang Ruhua. This was different from witnessing the mermaid's mangled remains. To watch someone sustain such catastrophic harm right in front of her made her mind go numb, and she felt phantom pain as if she herself had been injured. Zhuang Ruhua's maximum HP was only 200. Before she could process the shock, Tong Hua's magic fully restored her body. Everyone let out a quiet breath of relief. I think these monsters explode once they sustain a certain number of hits, Zhuang Ruhua said. She forced back the urge to retch and shared the vital observation. Watch their size. Those about to detonate swell larger than normal. Now that they understood the explosion mechanic, everyone prioritized targeting the enlarged grease spheres. Fish-Eater Spine was their primary damage dealer. A single slash of his longsword dealt 100 damage. Combined with his lightning paralysis and Tong Hua's occasional taunts to draw aggro, they fought with great momentum. Before long, they realized spreading out to attack separate targets was inefficient. The four coordinated their fire to focus down one enemy at a time. They could eliminate a single monster in as little as 16 seconds. Kills October 10th. First layer phase 1 cleared. Choose your reward. Grease Sphere Airshot Pellet times 200, Premium Grease Sphere Flesh times 5, Tongue Whip times 1, Blueprint, Automated Lifting Arm times 1. Grease Sphere Airshot Pellet. Throw to trigger an area attack covering a 3 by 3 meter zone. Deals 200 damage to each target hit. Premium Grease Sphere Flesh. Special ingredient. Restores 2 constitution when consumed after cooking. Stackable. Tongue Whip. A whip modeled after the grease sphere's tongue, adjustable in length. Attack range, 20 meters. Damage equals strength times 10. Blueprint. Ship automated lifting arm. Automatically collect supplies within 50 meters. Requires a mechanic to install. Reward selection order was determined by combat contribution. Tonghua Fish-Eater Spine Zhuang Ruhua Zhang Jizhang. All the rewards were valuable, yet Tonghua passed over several options. She did not know how to use the airshot pellets. The whip's damage output was inferior to her wind blade slash. She had also already asked the Mermaid King to source special ingredients. In the end, she picked the blueprint for the automated lifting arm. She compared it to her white fire starter blueprint. The material of this blue blueprint felt far sturdier. It must be the most valuable item among the rewards. Fish-Eater Spine chose the tongue whip. Zhuang Ruhua took the premium grease sphere flesh. Zhang Jizhang claimed the grease sphere airshot pellets, a perfect match for his slingshot. Barely had they claimed their chosen rewards when another system announcement echoed out. First layer phase 2 commencing shortly. Monster level equals all players level plus 20. Prepare yourselves. Countdown 10, 9, 1. The countdown ended and swarms of bat-like creatures surged out from the black mist. Abomination. Night Lurker Bat, level 20, HP 2000. Crimson and dark green patterns marked the creature's wings. As they flapped, fine black powder drifted through the water. The powder was toxic. Everyone's health visibly drained away. The night lurker bats were cunning and extremely swift. They scattered toxic dust toward the party, swooped in to bite. Their fangs also coated in venom, then vanished back into the fog, hiding their positions. Tong Hua missed multiple skill casts and called out, "Fish-Eater Spine. Seize opportunities to paralyze them. The rest of us follow up with damage." Fish-Eater Spine nodded. He unleashed his lightning repeatedly and finally landed a paralysis. The others struck immediately, yet only magical attacks connected. Zhang Jizhang could not aim fast enough with his pellets. Their health continued to drop rapidly. After only 1 minute, each member had lost 10 to 15 of their HP. Tong Hua healed the group, her expression grim. "Our health is draining faster and faster." Shortly after Fish-Eater Spine paralyzed another pair of night lurker bats, Zhang Jizhang launched an airshot pellet without precise aiming, firing on instinct. Boom, squeak, the pellet struck one night lurker bat. The blast damaged 2 nearby bats, tearing the wing off one, which plummeted and struggled to take flight again. The group rushed to finish the wounded creature. Kills 3 out of 100 monsters awaited them in Phase 2. Would there even be a Phase 3? What if Phase 3 brought 1,000 foes? Tong Hua felt discouraged. The first layer alone proved this difficult. Completing the whole dungeon seemed nearly impossible. They might not even survive the first layer. After losing 3 of their number, the night lurker bats adjusted their tactics, spacing themselves further apart. When Zhang Jizhang landed another explosive shot, only 1 bat was caught in the splash damage, and neither of the 2 affected creatures perished. Tong Hua estimated their kill speed. Their earlier triple kill had only been luck, the blast crippling a wing. Now a direct hit merely wounded the beasts, not killing them. 5 minutes had passed. The toxic black dust thickened all around them, obscuring the bats' locations. Their health dropped by 2 every second. Periodically, a bat tore chunks of flesh from their bodies. Tong Hua's healing ability, Flower Grace, had an 8-second cooldown, and she found herself struggling to keep up with the constant damage. The bats toyed with the party, leaving them seething. They could not die, yet they could barely land effective blows. Suddenly, Tong Hua remembered something. Delicious raw fish fillets attracted countless creatures across the boundless continent, even incorporeal entities. She retrieved the familiar item from her fusion ring. It was a last-ditch gamble. The constant squeaking fell silent in an instant. Every night lurker bat surged straight toward the fillet in Tong Hua's hand. Goosebumps rose across her skin. She quickly tossed the delicious raw fish fillet far away. Dozens of night lurker bats swarmed toward the bait. "Strike now!" Tong Hua shouted, unleashing wind blades slash at the densely packed swarm. The concentrated group allowed a single skill to hit multiple targets. The others snapped to attention and unleashed all their attacks on the bats fighting over the food. Hundreds of bats crowded around the bait. One serving of fish fillet could only distract them for roughly 2 seconds. Before the swarm scattered again, Tong Hua tossed out a second fillet. The grease sphere airshot pellets excelled against clustered enemies. After expending 28 pellets and relentless finishing strikes, the bodies of night lurker bats littered the area. Kills 100/100. First layer phase 2 cleared. Choose your reward. Night lurker bat wing ×1. Night lurker bat venom dust ×200. Angling robot custom appearance ×1. Night lurker bat genetic conversion serum ×1. The selection order remained the same, with Tong Hua choosing first. Night lurker batwing grants 3 minutes of flight when equipped. Cooldown 100 seconds. Night lurker bat venom dust. Targets afflicted lose 0.5 HP per second for 1 minute. Stackable up to 3 times. Angling robot custom appearance, unaffected by wind and rain. Automatically fishes 24 hours a day. Appearance can be customized. It may even take your likeness. Night lurker bat genetic conversion serum grants the racial power of the night lurker bat, greatly boosting attributes, yet may alter the user's physical form. She immediately rolled out the genetic conversion serum. Tong Hua had no desire to transform into something inhuman. Flying intrigued her, yet 3 minutes of flight limited only to the open sea felt lackluster. At maximum stacks, the venom dust could drain 90 of a target's HP, leaving 10 remaining. Even that leftover fraction could amount to 50,000 HP, 50,000, or even 10,000, would be more than enough to kill her. What was more, Tong Hua had no confirmation whether the dust worked on incorporeal entities. She decided against it. In the end, Tong Hua selected the angling robot. She had long wished to free herself from constant fishing. As next in line to choose, Zheng Zhizhong picked the night lurker batwing. Few could resist the allure of flight. He stroked the thick leathery surface, which still retained a faint warmth. He equipped it immediately. The wings were not cumbersome, resembling the small devil wings seen in games. He spread them and floated 2 to 3 meters off the ground. The controls were surprisingly intuitive, easier than driving a vehicle. And he was thoroughly satisfied. Fish Eater's spine carefully stored the venom dust, already planning how to coat his weapons with it. He thought he should turn the powder into liquid venom. Dry dust would not adhere well to blades. Zhuang Ruhua claimed the night lurker bat genetic conversion serum. She had no intention of using it herself, but believed she could sell it for a high price. Phew, that was a close call. Zhuang Ruhua wiped imaginary sweat from her forehead and smiled. Our leader really saved us. Though why do bats crave fish? I thought they were herbivorous. Phase 2 had concluded, yet the poison lingering on their bodies remained active. Tong Hua noticed the description stated venom dust only lasted 1 minute, yet more than 2 minutes had passed since they selected rewards. And they were still losing health. She continued healing the group as she spoke. These are no ordinary bats, after all. First layer final phase commencing shortly. Monster level equals all players level plus 30. Prepare yourselves. Countdown 3, 2, 1. All monster remains and toxic dust vanished from the platform. Fish Eater's spine spoke with hesitation. Considering our current state, can we survive the final phase? Black mist churned. The Phase 3 monster was slow to appear, yet Tong Hua's group dared not lower their guard. For pairs of eyes scanned their surroundings vigilantly. There it is. Tong Hua pointed toward the right front. She could only see the monster's name and health bar. Its physical form remained invisible. Abomination. Traceless Wasp Herald, level 30, HP 30,000. The night lurker bats of level 20 only possessed 2,000 HP. This creature stood alone, clearly the boss of the first layer. Swish, a piercing whistling sound cut through the air. Tong Hua failed to dodge. A sharp black spike pierced straight through her left shoulder blade. Her health bar instantly dropped by 1/3. Ugh, Tonghua let out a muffled cry. Agony spread across half her body. She reached for the spike, trying to pull it free, yet her limbs felt heavy and uncoordinated. Breathing grew difficult, and she feared she would perish. Tonghua, leader, don't move. Zheng Zhizhong held her steady and pulled out the 30-centimeter black spike. Heal yourself quickly. Tonghua trembled as she cast her healing skill. The spike carried venom, accelerating her HP loss. Once the wound sealed, she let out a long breath. It's poisoned. Everyone stay alert. At that moment, another whistling sound cut through the air. This time Zhuang Ruhua was struck. Cold sweat broke out on Tonghua's forehead. If that spike had hit someone's head, there would be no time for healing. Within a few heartbeats, everyone realized the gravity of their predicament, and their faces paled. None of the four were trained combatants. With the enemy hidden and able to strike unseen, they struggled to evade the ambushing spikes. Windblade Slash. Tonghua could not pinpoint the monster's shape, yet she could see its floating nameplate. Its body must lie directly beneath that label. Buzz. She landed a hit. Aim your attacks where I strike. Tonghua called out. Her teammates unleashed their attacks in that direction. But every blow missed. The traceless wasp herald vanished. Tonghua's heart lurched. Where had it gone? She scanned the platform and found nothing. No, above them. The monster's name suddenly materialized overhead. If it struck now, the spike would pierce someone's skull. Spread out and keep moving. Do not stop. Tonghua shouted, darting away first. A split second later, a black spike slammed into the spot where she had stood, burying itself deep into the stone. Tonghua's pulse raced. She locked onto the traceless wasp herald and unleashed Windblade Slash, striking it once again. Buzz. The monster's name faded from sight once more. This creature could teleport or turn invisible, Tonghua confirmed. Every time she wounded it, it disappeared, reappearing elsewhere roughly 10 seconds later. The others could not see the monster at all. This battle would rely entirely on her to mark its position. Follow my attack direction. Tonghua shouted loudly, to prevent the traceless wasp herald from focusing all its aggression solely on her. The others needed to land hits too, at the very least to draw some of its attention. Tonghua and her teammates sprinted constantly. Even so, the traceless wasp herald's hidden spikes found their targets multiple times. One strike narrowly missed Zhuang Ruhua's head. Now the threat came from behind. Tonghua reacted instantly and unleashed Windblade Slash. The traceless wasp herald took the hit. Though the wound was shallow, the monster grew and raged. Why could it be detected? The traceless wasp herald teleported repeatedly, yet Tonghua managed to land 2 more blows. Under extreme stress, Tonghua's focus sharpened. The traceless wasp herald vanished every 10 seconds. And its movement speed was slower than the night lurker bats. Even so, her skills did not connect reliably. And she grew frustrated at her poor aim. She pulled out another delicious raw fish fillet, hoping to lure the boss's attention. The bait that had never failed before did nothing this time. What could they do? Abomination. Traceless Wasp Herald, level 30, HP 28650. The group sank into grueling combat, yet none voiced the idea of retreat. They had come this far, none were willing to give up. My skill just leveled up. Zhuang Ruhua shouted. Sustained flame burns can reveal its form. I just need one more hit. Tonghua said, watch where I aim. Tonghua unleashed Windblade Slash toward the upper left. At nearly the exact same moment, Zhuang Ruhua released her spell. Boom! The traceless wasp herald's body materialized clearly for everyone to see. It measured roughly 1 meter long, with a spider-like upper torso and an elytra-covered lower body. Its wings resembled withered leaves, its form patterned red and black. A sharp spike continuously regrew from its crown, and faint embers swirled around its body, flickering on and off. No more words. Everyone unleashed every skill they had available. The Trace Wasp Enforcer was trapped by the fishbone shackle. Overwhelmed by rage, its true form emerged, yet its defenses were pitifully weak. It was little more than waiting for death. Unfortunately, the tide of battle had shifted. No amount of evasion would work this time. The sustained burning damage stacked with Zheng Zhizhong's bullet attacks, triggering a damage-doubling effect. The damage value surged to a terrifying 400. Tonghua kept a close eye on her teammates' HP. Their health plummeted far too quickly, starting at a minimum of 3 HP lost each second. If anyone got struck once more by the Trace Wasp Enforcer, healing would not arrive in time. Even if no further hits landed, if they failed to eliminate the beast quickly, the HP drain would rise to 4 per second within minutes. That would spell certain defeat. The outcome they feared most finally came to pass.